Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto finds left behind by Minato part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. 4-year-old Naruto Uzumaki was happy. No, he was beyond happy. He was ecstatic. Why was he in such a good mood? Simple. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, or as he liked to call him Old Man, had told him that he was going on vacation to Suna with him. Currently Naruto was running circles around the Hokage and the Umbu that would be escorting them. They all smiled at the blonde's antics, even if you couldn't tell with the Umbu. Sarutobi chuckled as the little blonde bundle of energy kept asking question after question about Suna, and anything else under the sun. He answered all of these and more while they walked along the path to Suna. Night came soon after they reached the border between fire and wind country. Alright Naruto, we're going to camp here for the night, called Sarutobi to the blonde that had run up ahead of them. Ah, come on old man, we can still go on, whined Naruto as he grudgingly made his way back the Hokage and Umbu. True, but as a wise man once said, early to bed, early to rise, said Hiruzen in a wise voice. Huh, said Naruto with his head tilted to the side. The Umbu had to stifle chuckles as they saw the Hokage's massive sweat drop from the Naruto's response. Sighing, Sarutobi tried another tactic to get the endless ball of energy to rest. It means, Naruto, that the sooner we get to bed, the sooner we can get up and make it Suna with more time to explore, said Sarutobi as he mentally patted himself on the back when he saw Naruto almost sprint to get ready for bed. The Umbu this time couldn't stop the chuckles that escaped their lips before setting up for patrol and watch duties for the night. Like the old man said, Naruto woke up early the next morning and noticed that his traveling companions were already up and clearing away the campsite. Packing up his sleeping bag, he waited for the others to finish with the rest of the camp. Once everything was secure and there was no trace of a camp ever being there, they set off through the deserts of Wind Country. It was a little after midday when the gates of the village could be seen over the dunes. Excited at the sight of another village, Naruto was anxious to explore it. The Hokage noticed his littlest companion was bouncing on the balls of his feet with every step. He was so excited. Once they reached the gates of the village, they were greeted by the Kazekage and his children. Welcome Hokage-dano. I hope your journey was pleasant. These deserts can be quite dangerous, said the Kazekage. Not at all, Kazekage-dano. Allow me to introduce Naruto Uzumaki, said the Hokage as he gestured to Naruto, who bowed in respect to the Kazekage. What? I never thought I'd live to see the day that Naruto Uzumaki would show anyone respect, thought the Hokage and the Umbu as they discreetly tried to release whatever genjutsu had been placed on them. These are my children, my eldest daughter Temari, my middle son Kankuro, and my youngest child Gaara, said the Kazekage as he gestured to each of his children as he introduced them. Nodding to all of them, Sarutobi spoke in a business-like tone. Now shall we begin the negotiations, Kazekage-dano? Nodding the affirmative, the Kazekage led them into the village. Yes, we shall. Let's go to council chambers and get started, said the Kazekage as the two Kages walked off to the tower in the center of the village. The Umbu decided to let Naruto play with the other children for a while but keep an eye on him from a distance. It was well into the night before Naruto and the Kazekage's children decided to rest for the night. Naruto noticed the Umbu off in the distance and waved to them, shouting that he was ready to go to the hotel. The Umbu were surprised that a 4-year-old noticed them, even when some of Suna's jounin couldn't sense their presence. Getting over their shock, they led him to the hotel where they would be staying during their time in Suna. Sleep eluded Naruto that night. He was just too excited to sleep, so being the curious child he decided to sneak out and explore the village. Arriving at the village wall, he walked along it, comparing the village's size to Konoha. While he was walking, he noticed something drawn on the wall. It was a small, faded red scorpion. Brushing his hands over the drawing, Naruto watched in awe as a black circle appeared around the scorpion, but let out a surprised yelp when a trap door suddenly opened below him and he fell onto an old mattress. He looked up in surprise as the trap door closed again and lights came on, revealing the room be filled with wooden body parts, tools, and piles of scrolls. He noticed 2 other doors on the far side of the room. Opening the first one, he noticed that it had jars of strange liquids lining the walls. The second room was full of almost every kind of weapon there is, from kunai to zanbatos. Going back to the scroll and parts room, Naruto noticed a single scroll setting in the middle of a workbench. Curious, he opened it and read what it said. To my pupil. First off, allow me to introduce myself. I am Sasori of the Red Sand, and I am the greatest puppeteer to ever come from Suna. I have abandoned this village and left this room with all my knowledge to mock this pathetic village that no one will ever be able to match me as a puppeteer. If you study from these scrolls, you will either become a puppet master or die trying. I'll show you. I'll become the best puppet master there is, and then I'll kick your butt, Sasori, thought Naruto as he looked through the piles of scrolls. Finding one labeled Basics of Puppet Jutsu, he opened it and began reading through it. About halfway through it he was confused. What's chakra? He thought. Looking through the scrolls he found one labeled Basics of Chakra and began reading through it. It had been 2 weeks since the negotiation began, and the village's council had stopped the two Kages from reaching an agreement at least 10 times in that time. But Sarutobi wasn't worried about the council or the alliance at the moment. No, he was worried because Naruto has been missing for the past 2 weeks. He sent his Umbu in search of the boy in hopes that they would be able to find him out exploring the villages. When they reported that they couldn't find him, the Kazekage had sent his own Umbu out in search of Naruto as well. Walking into his hotel room, the Hokage let out a sad sigh. Naruto, where are you? With Naruto. If Sasori himself was there training the boy, he would be in for a shock. Naruto soaked up everything that he learned and in a matter of hours could have it mastered and maybe even found a way to improve on it. He was a genius when it came to the ninja arts. During his first week training from Sasori's scrolls, he had managed to create chakra strings, attach them to an object and control it for a good period of time. His second week there he focused mainly on chakra control. He mastered the wall walking technique and was working on kunai balancing. At the end of his second week, Naruto had at least mid-chunin chakra control and it was still increasing. Looking for another scroll to begin training from, he found one that was labeled Poisons. Interested, he opened it and continued his training in the art of puppetry. With the Hokage. 2 months since the negotiations for an alliance with Suna started, and they were just about finished. 2 months since young Naruto had vanished, and in those 2 months no one had been able to find him. Sarutobi sighed again as he sat on his bed in his hotel room. He had just returned from another day of finishing the negotiations and looking for Naruto. He was about to go to sleep when there was a knock on the door. Curious, he went to answer it. He found an Umbu and the boy he considered a grandson with him, Naruto. Naruto, where have you been? Asked the Kage as he brought Naruto into a hug. The Umbu silently left, feeling he was intruding on a private moment. Training, was the short reply from the blonde. Surprised, Sarutobi brought Naruto into the room and silenced it for privacy. What kind of training, Naruto? Asked the old Kage. So Naruto told him about falling into the room, his training in the puppet arts, and anything else he learned. He of course left out certain aspects of the training, such as human puppets, and some of the nastier poisons he knew. To say Sarutobi was impressed would be an understatement. He was happy for his surrogate grandson and knew that the boy would be a powerful ninja when he was older. It was the next day when the negotiations finally ended, with the Kazekage threatening to disband the council if they tried to stop another agreement. Needless to say, that shut them up. Sarutobi was currently at the gates of the village with his companions ready to leave. The Kazekage and his children were there to see them off. Once goodbyes were exchanged and Naruto promised to keep in touch with the Sand siblings, they set off. Sarutobi watched as Naruto was checking their surroundings for possible enemies or threats. He was sad that his grandson's childhood was all but over, but proud that he had become so strong. Maybe now he'll be able to protect himself from those idiotic villagers, thought Sarutobi as the gates of the village could be seen on the horizon. The aged Kage had one last thought as they reached the gates of the village. Things should be interesting from now on. Been 2 weeks since his return from Suna, and Naruto had hardly left his apartment in that time. Currently he was smiling at what he had created. Ever since his return he had thrown himself into his puppeteer training. He had learned much in the short amount of time. He had managed to make many of the poisons that Sasori's scrolls mentioned, and his chakra control was through the roof even if he didn't have anything to compare it by. If any trained and experienced shinobi were to see it, they would think he had been trained by Tsunade Senju herself. In his second week of training with the scrolls he had started on how to create your own puppet, and lying in front of him was the fruits of his labor. Naruto had designed him in honor of the Umbu he had seen save him multiple times. It was tall, about 6 feet, it was dressed in the standard Umbu attire, black pants and sandals, and a black skin-tight sleeveless shirt with a gray chest plate along with arm and leg bracers. Naruto had wanted honor the Umbu, but put his own little twist into the puppet, so Naruto had given it blonde spiky hair like his own and had chosen an Umbu-style fox mask for the puppet to wear. On its back were 2 ninjatos and it also had kunai holsters on both its thighs as well as 2 packs on its back hip. Since this was his first puppet, Naruto decided only to go with some basic traps in the body. From its right wrist it could fire a barrage of poisoned saban, and in its left wrist were smoke grenades. Attaching his chakra strings, Naruto made the puppet stand up. The sight of his first successful puppet standing in front of him was so exciting for Naruto that he immediately ran to show the old man. When he arrived, the Hokage's first thought on seeing the Umbu figure was Naruto had pulled another prank. But when Naruto showed him it was puppet, Sarutobi almost had a heart attack from the surprise. The puppet looked so lifelike that it had fooled a Kage-level shinobi. Sarutobi knew only a puppet master would be able to tell the difference from one glance. He was curious, though, as to where Naruto had gotten the clothes for the puppet. He could tell they weren't the average shinobi store remake. They were official Umbu grade clothes and armor. Apparently, Naruto didn't think one hard attack for Sarutobi was enough because when he explained how he acquired them from Anbu headquarters, the old Kage almost went into cardiac arrest. It was a week later, on the eve of Naruto's birthday, Sarutobi got word of a group of 30 or more civilians heading towards the blonde's apartment to apparently finish what the fourth started. So now the Hokage and about 10 Anbu were standing on the roof of a building waiting for the crowd to show up. 10 minutes later, when the crowd came into view, the Anbu braced themselves to strike, only to be stopped by the Hokage. Surprised and slightly concerned, a dog-masked Anbu approached the Hokage. "Hokage-sama, aren't we going to stop those villagers from attacking Naruto?" asked the Anbu, worry clear in his voice. "Not yet, dog. As you know, Naruto has started training in the art of puppetry, and I wish to see how far he has come. But if things don't go the way I think they will, we move to kill all the attackers, understood?" said the Hokage in a voice that left no room for argument. "Yes, Hokage-sama," dog replied with nod. Even he didn't show it, he was still very worried about his sensei's son and a person he saw as his own little brother, and so if there was a chance Naruto would get hurt, he would be the first one there to protect him. But if what the Hokage said was right, Naruto would be fine physically, but dog was worried how this would affect him mentally as he was required to kill at such a young age. Naruto meanwhile was sitting next to his window and watching the village below him. When he first caught sight of the crowd of people heading towards his apartment, he smirked. Time to put Fox through his last test, he thought while connecting chakra strings to Fox and moving to hide in his closet. It wasn't 2 minutes later that he heard pounding on his door accompanied by the shouts of the villagers. "Time to die, demon. It's time we finished what the fourth started." The pounding on his door got harder until the door was kicked in and ripped off its hinges. The civilians looked around. Not seeing their target, they made their way to his bedroom only to find it empty as well. What they failed to notice though was Fox hidden in the shadows behind the door. When none were looking at him, Fox pulled a kunai and began the slaughter. Screams of terror could be heard coming from the apartment. Concerned, the Hokage signaled for the Anbu to move only to find dog already moving to the apartment. Moving to the front door, they were worried when it was broken off its hinges. Moving towards the bedroom, the group of shinobi was shocked to see Naruto standing with Fox by his side in middle of what could only be described as a bloodbath. Bodies littered the floor soaking in pools of blood and entrails. Even most experienced shinobi would have a hard time stomaching the sight in the room, but to their surprise Naruto was wearing his famous Fox grin. "That should get the message across. Maybe now people will think twice before attacking me," said Naruto as he turned to look at the Hokage. "Hey old man, can I ask a favor?" Still shocked that a 4-year-old could kill over 30 civilians, but relieved that said boy was unharmed, Sarutobi turned to look at the blonde as he spoke. "And what would that be, Naruto?" the aged Kage asked. "Can you have someone clean up the blood, but leave the bodies and organs?" Naruto asked with a serious face. Seeing the look on the blonde's face, Sarutobi knew this was important. "Why just the blood and not the bodies or organs?" he asked, although he had an idea because of what he heard about Sasori of the Red Sand. Knowing that he would have to explain at some point, Naruto decided to tell the Hokage about human puppets. Though he was slightly surprised by the blonde's knowledge on human puppets, Sarutobi had guessed that was the reason behind the unusual request. Contemplating on what to do, the Hokage decided to buy a little more time for his thought process to finish. "Naruto, come with me, we'll discuss this in my office. Anbu, clean this mess up, seal the bodies and organs and bring them to my office when you're done," ordered the Hokage. With a chorus of "Hi Hokage-sama" from everyone, even Naruto, the Anbu set to work while Naruto left with the Hokage and a dog-masked Anbu, Fox, at his side. 10 minutes later found Naruto sitting in front of the Hokage. Dog was standing by the door with Fox mimicking his actions. Sarutobi looked at Naruto, knowing that the decision he was about to make would forever change the young boy in front of him, and possibly reduce the village's population to triple digits if Naruto decided he wanted revenge. Glancing to Dog, the Hokage decided to begin with something simple. "Naruto, first off I'd like to introduce you to someone you are very familiar with. You may recognize Dog as one of the Anbu that has watched over you in the past." "Yeah, I remember him. He was the only one of the Anbu watching me to ever come play with me," said Naruto as he smiled slightly at the memory of Dog giving him a piggyback ride while jumping across the roofs of buildings. Laughing nervously at the look the Hokage gave him, Dog stepped forward and removed his mask, revealing another mask underneath. Only this one covered everything from his nose down. He also had his left eye closed with a vertical scar running through it. "Hello Naruto, my name is Kakashi Hatake. It's nice to finally meet you properly," said Kakashi with, what Naruto would soon learn, was his famous eye smile. "It's nice to meet you too, Kakashi," said Naruto as he turned to face the newly revealed Anbu. Clearing his throat to bring the attention back to him, Hiruzen picked up from where he left off. "Now that introductions have been taken care of, I have a few things I would like to say. First off, Naruto, I will allow you to keep the bodies of the villagers to turn into puppets on the condition that you only turn those who attack you into puppets. I don't need you going around and killing people, just make them puppets, said the Hokage as Naruto nodded in acceptance. Also, as the Hokage, I am giving you express permission to kill anyone who tries to attack you. What you do with the bodies afterwards is up to you. Again nodding his agreement, Naruto prepared to leave when a cat-masked Umbu appeared and placed the scroll on the Hokage's desk. It seems your apartment is clean, Naruto. The bodies are in the scroll, you are free to go. Using a chakra string, Naruto grabbed the scroll and made his way out of the tower. After he arrived at his apartment, Naruto locked himself inside, not to be seen by the village for years. It was during the first 2 months that Naruto began trying to make human puppets. It took him a couple of tries to get the skill down, and of the original 37 civilians that he had killed, 25 were puppets. Even though he knew how to make them, Naruto knew he was far from mastering the art of making human puppets. He had not only worked on human puppets, but he also managed to create 2 more regular ones. When he had shown them to Kakashi and Sarutobi, when they came by to visit every now and then, both of them were impressed and scared at the same time. Each of the puppets looked strong and intimidating on its own, but after Naruto told them that he made them to be used as a tandem, they resolved to never anger the blonde lest he attack with those 2 puppets. The first one looked like a demon in human form, which was accurate somewhat as Naruto had based it on, and named it after the Shinigami himself. Shinigami had sickly gray skin that Naruto said was a material he designed to make his puppets more lifelike. It had a spiky mane of white hair that reached its back. It was dressed in black jounin-style pants and sleeveless shirt with a short-sleeved black cloak with white flames licking the bottom. It had 2 horns jutting out from its forehead, piercing black eyes and razor-sharp teeth, and a segmented mouth that opened up and fired poison kunai, shuriken, or sanban at an opponent. On its back are 6 demonic wings that have hidden blades that extend out of them. On its right side it carries a ninjato with a white-clothed hilt. It also has a tanto on its left side with a white-clothed hilt as well. Its left arm had a white arm bracer and a hidden blade in the side of the arm. It could shoot poison gas out of its right elbow joint, and its right hand was connected to the body by a chain that could be used to drag an opponent in for the kill. The brother puppet, which Naruto had named Kami, was very similar to its brother Shinigami. It had straight black hair tied in a ponytail that reached its back. Its bright blue eyes shone with the same intensity as Naruto's own. It wore white jounin-style pants and sleeveless shirt with a white cloak with black flames licking the bottom. On its back it had 6 angelic wings instead of demonic ones. These wings were loaded with poison saban that could launch at an opponent with a simple flap of the wings. Like its brother, Kami had a ninjato, only his was on the left side with a tanto on the right. Each blade had a black clothed hilt. Its right arm had a black arm bracer and a hidden blade in the side of the arm. Its left elbow could be used to fire smoke grenades while its left wrist could fire sanban. These puppets were complete opposites of each other, but when Naruto used them together in a fight against Kakashi's and Sarutobi's clones, they proved to be quite the team, covering the other's blind spots and launching one combo attack after another. It was with these 2 puppets that Naruto managed to defeat 4 Chunin who were helping a crowd of 20 civilians to attack the demon brat. Needless to say, Naruto added 20 new civilian puppets to his collection, but only 3 ninja puppets. He had lost one when he messed up the chakra network, but it would be safe to say that Naruto now had the art of making human puppets mastered after 3 months. Thanks to his 3 new Chunin puppets, Naruto learned the basics of fire, earth, and lightning jutsu and even some genjutsu. Now 1 year later, Naruto stood atop his apartment building dressed in all black. Making his way across the roofs of the village, he made his way to his destination, the Hokage Tower. Arriving at the tower, he watched as the patrols made their rounds, studying them for an opening. When the opening presented itself, he made his move. Entering through an open window, Naruto found himself inside the Hokage's office. Sneaking out of the office, he made his way towards the Hokage's personal library. Once he arrived, he searched the room for anything of interest to him. He found multiple scrolls on every type of jutsu imaginable, from destructive ninjutsu, to terrifying genjutsu, to complex taijutsu, and almost impossible sealing. Smirking, Naruto took out a bunch of blank scrolls, as well as some sealing scrolls. Taking one of the blank scrolls, he removed one of the larger, older-looking scrolls and set it beside the blank one. Over the course of his training so far, Naruto had created a jutsu similar to the transformation. Only you didn't transform yourself, you transformed something else. He had created this jutsu using some of the information he got from his 3 Chunin puppets about basic genjutsu and the transformation. Unlike a genjutsu, when this jutsu was applied, it wasn't an illusion, but a physical transformation. Running through the hand signs for the jutsu, Naruto transformed the blank scroll into a copy of the large scroll, at least on the outside. He knew no one ever used the scroll in this room to train, as they were all forbidden, so no one would be opening them anytime soon. Repeating the process with the reminder of the scrolls in the room, which took him a good 3 hours to from how many scrolls there were, he sealed away the originals into the storage scrolls and made his way out of the building the same way he came in. 2 years had passed after Naruto's adventure in the Hokage's Forbidden Library, and in that time Naruto had nearly mastered everything the scrolls had to teach him. How did he accomplish this? The answer is simple: shadow clones. Before he began his training with the scrolls, Naruto had read through them to see what he should start with. When he came across the shadow clone jutsu and read about its secret ability, he set to work on mastering it. It was almost as if the jutsu was made specifically for him with how easily it came to him, but what he didn't expect when he first used the clones for training was the massive headache that came when he released the jutsu due to the rush of knowledge he received from his clones. It was because this that Naruto had first met his tenant, Kyuubi no Kitsune. When he and the fox first met, they couldn't stop arguing with each other, and they couldn't get along to save their lives. But when Naruto had let slip about one of his secret projects, the Kyuubi, or as he later introduced himself, Kurama, offered to help him with it. Naruto may have been a bit colder since his first kills, but he had a sense of honor, and he felt he should do something for the fox if he was willing to help with his project. This brought about the idea of Naruto finding a way to summon the Kyuubi into the real world every now and then. When he told the fox his idea, he immediately threw the fox summoning contract at Naruto and almost begged him to sign it. With the help of Kurama and his shadow clones, Naruto had managed to master everything the scrolls had to offer. Even if he didn't have anything to compare it to, Naruto felt his skills as a shinobi could rival that of a jounin's. His genjutsu was that of an average jounin. Despite puppeteers usually having little to no close combat skills, Naruto's taijutsu was that of an elite jounin. His skills in sealing had gone through the roof. Like the shadow clone, the art of sealing almost seemed like second nature to him. Thanks to the scrolls the fourth Hokage left behind on sealing, he was probably a master of the art. But the one thing he knew no one could ever match him at was ninjutsu. His naturally large chakra reserves, even without the fox's chakra, made him a perfect match for ninjutsu, and with all the jutsu he had learned from the Hokage's scrolls, he knew he could rival even the old man in that department. It was near his 7th birthday that the Hokage had come to tell him that he would be starting at the academy soon. Despite protests from the civilian council about having the demon trained as a ninja and instead calling for his death using the basis of him killing innocent civilians and then turning them into abominations, the Hokage had reminded them that his law about the Kyuubi was still active and that he had given Naruto permission to defend himself. The Shinobi Council, however, was pleased to see that Naruto could defend himself, and were interested in his skills with the art of puppetry. This didn't sit well with the civilian council as they continued to go on and on about killing the demon. It wasn't until after Sarutobi threatened them with public execution for treason did they stop ranting. Excited that he could finally be a ninja, officially, he decided to go to the festival despite the Hokage's protests. That was how his collection of human puppets went from 48 to 81, even with Fox by his side throughout the whole time he was at the festival. People still had thoughts that they could attack him without consequences. When he received the report of what occurred during the festival, the Hokage hoped that people learn not to mess with Naruto soon, or the village populace would drop dramatically in the coming years. Naruto now sat in his seat at the back of his classroom in the academy. He was the first one to arrive and was thinking over what he had learned recently. When the old man told him he would be starting the academy, Naruto had wanted as much information on who was in his class as possible. Flashback back. It was a week after the Hokage had told Naruto about the academy, and currently he was shifting through files in the Hokage's office in the middle of the night. He was looking for the file that had information on the newest class starting the academy. Finally, after 20 minutes of searching, he found what he was looking for. Reading through the file, Naruto instantly noticed that the clan heirs from all the shinobi clans were in his class. They're the most likely to become true shinobi out of the class, besides me of course, thought Naruto as he memorized the names in the file and put it back where he got it. Sneaking back out of the tower, Naruto created some shadow clones and sent them to observe his new classmates for a day and dispel once they were done. The next day Naruto went about his usual routine: get up at the crack of dawn, get ready for the day, and train for most of the day, and then work on his secret project with the help of Kurama. It was close to sundown when his first clone dispelled itself. This clone had observed a civilian council member's son who was in his class, and he could say for sure that one wouldn't become a shinobi at all. The next clone to dispel had followed the daughter of the head of the civilian council, Sakura Haruno. Shifting through the information his clone had sent him, he could honestly say he wasn't impressed. From a shinobi standpoint, she had almost no potential and nothing going in her favor. Her chakra levels were barely higher than that of an average civilian, but with training she would have almost perfect control over her tiny reserves, and could possibly become a medical ninja, if she wasn't an obsessed fangirl. The likelihood of that though was almost zero, as her mother, or as Naruto called her the Pink Banshee, was already filling her daughter's head with dreams of marrying the youngest son of the Uchiha clan head, Sasuke Uchiha. Speaking of said Uchiha, the clone that had been following him dispelled, and Naruto admitted that Sasuke would most definitely be the top of the class if he decided to hide his true skills. From what he could tell, Sasuke had a little above average chakra reserves for their age and was already somewhat skilled in taijutsu, and currently learning a low-level fire jutsu required among the clan. If what he could gather from his clone was anything to go by, Sasuke had somewhat of an inferiority complex due to his brother Itachi being the genius he was and having to live in his brother's shadow for most of his life. The next few clones to disperse tailed other children of wealthy civilians, most of which were on the council. The next noticeable people his clones tailed were the children of the Ino Shikacho formation. The first one was Shikamaru Nara. Like most Naras, he was lazy as can be, but Shikamaru seemed to be even lazier than most of his clansmen. Also, like most Nara men, he was a genius, even by his clan's standards. His reserves were average, and he was already being trained in his clan's jutsu and style. Choji Akimichi was the next one he learned about. His reserves were average, but his physical strength and taijutsu were already well above average. Like most Akimichis, Choji was fat, though he learned to never call him that, or suffer the same fate as some poor unfortunate boy who called Choji fat. The last of the Ino Shikacho children was Ino Yamanaka. When Naruto went through the memories of the clone, he blushed slightly at Ino's natural beauty, even at their age. Ino was very similar to Sakura in the fact that she had very small chakra reserves, though hers were slightly higher than Sakura's. And she already had some form of training, from her father in the form of her clan jutsu. The next one was Shino Abirame, and it seemed he was the only one to notice he was being watched. Shino, like most Abirames, was very mysterious and preferred to keep to himself. It also seemed that he would become a very competent shinobi, quiet, neutral, and lethal. Also, like most Abirames, he had average chakra reserves, and he seemed to be a natural tracker with his insects, which explains how his clone was found. Kiba Inuzuka also seemed to be a born tracker. Like most Inuzukas, he was partnered with a dog. His dog's name was Akamaru, and despite their age and experience, they were already proving to be a very effective combo. Kiba's chakra reserves were slightly above average like Sasuke's, but his taijutsu was like Choji's, through the roof for their age. When the next dispelled, he was rather surprised by the information it sent back. The clone had tailed Hinata Hyuga, the heiress of the Hyuga clan. She seemed to have slightly above average chakra for a kunoichi in training, but was surprisingly shy and gentle for a Hyuga. But what shocked him the most was the fact that a Hyuga guard who had been watching over her spotted the clone and informed a passing Jounin that the demon brat was about to kill innocents. Before the clone dispelled, it noticed that the Jounin smirked and activated a fully matured Sharingan, while the Hyuga guard activated his Byakugan and they sprinted in the direction of Naruto's apartment. Thinking quickly, Naruto unsealed Kami, Shinigami, Fox, and 2 of his Jounin puppets and left to meet his assailants halfway. He found them jumping across the rooftops in his direction. Making sure Kami and Shinigami were concealed, he changed direction and headed for an unused training ground, the Hyuga and Uchiha on his tail. When he arrived at the training ground, he braced himself for his hardest fight to date. He may have killed 2 Jounin in the past, but they were drunk and could hardly fight back. When the 2 Jounin entered the field, they were slightly surprised to see that the demon had 2 Jounin and an Umbu standing with him ready to fight. Getting over their shock, they charged at him, the Hyuga moving in the use his Juken, while the Uchiha went through hand signs for a jutsu. Jumping back to avoid the legendary Hyuga taijutsu, Naruto twitched his fingers slightly and the Jounin puppets flashed through hand signs before they both launched a fireball at the Hyuga, only to have the attack cancelled by the Uchiha and a clone. Cursing under his breath, Naruto jumped into the trees for cover and allowed his puppeteer nature to show. Fox drew his 2 katanas and charged forward faster than before, with the Jounin drawing kunai and following. Surprised by the sudden burst of speed from his opponents, the Hyuga barely had time to use his rotation to defend. So a main branch member of the Hyuga, Hayashi, won't be pleased with this, thought Naruto as he moved Kami and Shinigami into position for the finishing blow. Just as the Hyuga stopped the rotation, Naruto noticed he slowed down in his spin and sent Shinigami to make use of the opening. The Hyuga was about to stop his spin and continue the fight, only for Shinigami to come up behind him and stab him in the heart with his tanto. Shinigami caught the body before it fell to the ground and vanished into the trees where Naruto was. Creating a clone to apply the preservation seal, Naruto turned his mind back to the fight just in time to move Fox out of the way of an attack from the Uchiha that would have destroyed the puppet. Now Naruto was serious. Mess with him, fine. Mess with his puppets, you're dead. Withdrawing Fox and his Jounin puppets, Naruto sent Shinigami back in along with Kami and had them attack the Uchiha. Seeing the black-clad puppet charge at him, the Uchiha sped through hand signs thinking that he couldn't lose with his Sharingan. Unfortunately, in his arrogance, he didn't notice the white-clad puppet coming up from behind him with his tanto drawn and ready to kill. Flipping the tanto so he was holding it in the reverse grip, Kami swung and stabbed his victim in the shoulder before he could finish his jutsu. Using the distraction his brother caused, Shinigami drew his own tanto and stabbed the injured man in the heart. Coming out of his hiding spot, Naruto placed the preservation seal on the body and sealed it along with the Hyuga and made his way back to his apartment to begin his work. These two would make very powerful puppets for him to use, and it gave him a chance to try an experiment he had been interested in for a while, but needed the appropriate circumstances to do it. Allowing one of his infamous fox smirks to grace his face, he sped up, eager to begin. Flashback release. He was brought out of his memories when he noticed the rest of the class had arrived and they were waiting for their sensei to show up. Taking this as an opportunity to try out the results of his experiment, Naruto cast a slight, if powerful, genjutsu on his eyes and activated his Byakugan. His eyes turned from their usual sapphire blue to pale lavender with veins bulging around the eyes. When he examined the bodies of his most recent kills, Naruto had found the strand in each of their DNA that contained the traits for their unique Kekkei Genkais. Naruto had asked Kurama if he could alter his DNA to accept the foreign traits and make them his own. When the fox said he could, Naruto immediately took the DNA from his newest puppets and implanted them into his own. When the fox began the process, he warned him that it would burn like hell in his eyes, but by the time he was done the results were well worth the pain. Using his new 360 degrees of vision, Naruto looked through the walls and noticed that there were two Chunin heading in the direction of their classroom. The first one wore the standard Chunin vest along with the standard leaf shinobi attire, navy blue pants and shirt. He had brown hair that was pulled back into a spiky ponytail along with a scare running across the bridge of his nose, and his leaf headband tied to his forehead. The second one wore the same attire as the first, but had straight shoulder-length white hair and wore his headband like a bandana. When the two reached the door to the classroom, Naruto deactivated his Byakugan and looked to the front of the room, waiting for class to begin. When the door opened, the class immediately quit talking and looked at the new arrivals. "Good morning, class. I'll be your instructor for the next 5 years. My name is Iruka Yumino, and this is Mizuki. He will be assisting me throughout your time here. Now we'll begin with a short quiz on basic knowledge of village history and the shinobi lifestyle." With that, Iruka and Mizuki passed out the exams to the new batch of students. When Mizuki gave Naruto his quiz, he sent a sneer in his direction that didn't go unnoticed by our favorite blonde. When Naruto looked at his exam, he immediately noticed the genjutsu on it that showed questions that even a seasoned jounin would have trouble with. Releasing the genjutsu, Naruto sighed. This is going to be a long 5 years, he thought as he began his quiz. 3 years later. Alright class, today we are going to learn about the past Hokages of our village and maybe some of the other villages' former Kages, said Iruka as he looked over the class to gauge their reactions. Many of the class looked interested, though there were exceptions. Shikamaru, for example, was asleep with his head on the desk. Shino was still as neutral as ever, not letting any emotion show. The three most obvious ones who looked like they didn't care though were Sasuke, Sakura, and Ino. The aforementioned Uchiha because he was too busy brooding, no doubt thinking of ways to kill his brother. A few months prior, his brother Itachi had killed their entire clan, with the exception of him. When Sasuke asked why, his brother told him it was to test his power. Ever since that incident, Sasuke has been obsessed with killing his brother but still managed to maintain his place as best in the class. The two girls weren't interested because they were too busy fawning over the Uchiha to care. Ever since said boy turned into a dark emo, every girl in the class that wasn't already after him soon joined the chase. Naruto, for his part, was very interested in this particular subject. Ever since he made his first human puppets, he had dreams of having the past Kages as his puppets. He had spent a lot of time trying to find the damn crypt where the bodies were placed after death, but every one of his searches yielded no results. Clearing his throat, Iruka began his lecture. Now, as all of you know, the Hidden Leaf Village has had 4 Hokages since its creation, including our current Hokage the third, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Now let's go over them in order. The first Hokage was named Hashirama Senju, the clan head and leader of the Senju clan, one of the founding clans of our village. He was a very powerful shinobi that was known across the land for his unique wood-style jutsu. There are many speculations about the first wood-style abilities being a Kekkei Genkai among the Senju. However, this theory has not been proven since no one since the first has been able to use the wood style, so many believe it to have been unique to him alone. During his time the world was very unstable, so as a sign of friendship and a way to keep the peace between the dying race of samurai and the shinobi of the Senju, the first wore red samurai armor that was crafted for him by the samurai. To continue the peace between the samurai and the village hidden in the leaves after it was formed, the first younger brother, Tobirama Senju the second Hokage, requested to have his own armor made for him by the same smith who forged his brother's, only his armor was blue as a sign to represent his skills with water ninjutsu. Like the first and his wood style, the second had a unique skill with water style that only he seemed to be able to use. His skills in water ninjutsu were so great that he could cast a water-style jutsu even if there was no water source around. By now most of the class was in stunned silence. They knew that the past Kages were powerful, but they didn't think they were that powerful. Naruto, for his part, was memorizing every word Iruka said. He couldn't wait to find the crypt of the Hokages and make them into his puppets. "Hey Kit, I found something you might find very interesting," came the voice of Kurama from inside Naruto's head. "What is it, Kurama? I'm a little busy here," answered Naruto, annoyed that the fox interrupted his memorizing the abilities of the Hokages. "Sheesh, someone's in a bad mood. Anyway, what I was going to say is that when I was first sealed into you, I tried multiple times to try and possess you by flooding my chakra through you. While the seal stopped a majority of my chakra from leaking into you, it couldn't stop it all, but whatever chakra got past the seal was stopped and suppressed by columns of wood that would appear. What I'm trying to say is that you possess that legendary wood style of the first, and possibly the water control of the second. If that's true, then they might be ancestors of yours," finished the fox as Naruto was shocked that he might be a descendant of the first and second Hokages. He would have to check when he got a hold of their bodies. Returning his attention to the lecture, Naruto caught the last part about the second wielding a legendary sword known as the Raijin, the sword of the Thunder God. Now onto the third Hokage. As I said before, he is our current Hokage due to his predecessor, the fourth dying in battle against the Kyuubi. The third Hokage was known as the Professor or the God of Shinobi for his skills and knowledge of the ninja arts. He was famous for using a diamond-hard boa staff in combat that was said to be able to defeat any sword. He is also famous for training the legendary Sannin of the Leaf Village, Jiraiya the Toad Sage, Tsunade the Slug Princess, and the now traitor and rouge ninja, Orochimaru the Snake Sannin. Now the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, was said to be the greatest of the Hokage. He was trained by Jiraiya, and was even better at the art of sealing than even Jiraiya, who is a seal master. But what made him truly famous and earn the title, the Yellow Flash of the Leaf, and made him the only man in history to receive the flee on sight order from every village, was his Hiraishin no Jutsu. The Hiraishin allowed the fourth to move at extreme speeds that were unmatchable, and it is with this technique that the fourth managed to kill over 500 rock shinobi in a matter of minutes during the Third Shinobi War. When Iruka finished his lecture about the Hokages, the reactions around the class varied. Shikamaru, who had woken up in the middle, was wide-eyed, while his best friend Choji was stunned with a chip only inches from his jaw. The stoic Shino had his eyebrows raised in surprise. Kiba was slack-jawed, and his puppy Akamaru was trying and failing to bring his partner out of his funk. Hinata was poking her fingers together while glancing at Naruto, but she was still wide-eyed at the power of the Hokages. Ino and Sakura, who had stopped fawning over Sasuke for a few minutes, were bug-eyed and slack-jawed at what their sensei said. Outwardly, Sasuke didn't acknowledge what Iruka said, but on the inside he was surprised. That power should be mine. I'm an Uchiha elite, I deserve that power. While all this was going on, Naruto cast a quick genjutsu over everyone in the class and created over 100 shadow clones and sent them to search for the crypt but not to be spotted. After his clones were gone, he released the genjutsu and class continued on with Iruka talking about some of the past Kages from other villages. The first one he talked about was Mew, the second Tsuchikage, who was known as the Invisible Man, because he could eliminate his presence completely and suppress his chakra to the point of being non-existent, even when he was using it. Another one he talked about was the third Raikage, who was known for his durability and endurance. This gave his body the title of the strongest shield, and he was also known for using the Black Lightning technique and creating a jutsu that became known as the strongest sword, the Hellbringer Hand. Another of the Kages that Iruka spoke of was the third Kazekage, who was famous for his Iron Sand technique, but he vanished from his village suddenly and his body never found. The last one he talked about was the second Mizukage, who was renowned and feared for his genjutsu abilities. Alright class, that's all for today. Remember, there will be a test over the Kages tomorrow, so make sure you stew. Iruka never got to finish as the class was already gone. Sighing to himself and mumbling something about kids and no patience, he set to work grading the rest of the test his class took a few days ago. A week later. Finally, village security may have become lax in the previous years, but when the first chose the final resting place for the Hokages, he sure as hell didn't lax in the location. These were the thoughts of Naruto as he made his way toward the hidden crypt of the Hokages in the dead of night. Unlike most would figure, the crypt wasn't even in the village. No, the first had used his unique skills to control wood and created a hidden chamber deep within the forest that surrounded the village. From what his clone had found, the entrance to the crypt was hidden within an average tree that was marked with the leaf insignia. After searching for a few minutes, he found the tree with the leaf marking. Activating his fully matured Sharingan, he looked over the tree, noticing all the security seals drawn on it and hidden by an extremely powerful genjutsu. Taking out a brush and ink, he began applying the counter seals, which would disappear once he focused chakra into them. When the security seals deactivated, an opening appeared in the tree that revealed a winding staircase leading down into the earth. When he reached the bottom of the steps, Naruto found the caskets of the Hokages, each marked with a kanji that represented who they were, first, second, fourth. Moving over to the caskets, he removed the lids revealing the bodies of the Kages, each with powerful preservation seals on them. Removing a scroll from his pouch, Naruto quickly drew 3 storage seals and sealed each Kage into one, bowing and paying his respects as he did so. Once he finished, he replaced the lids and made his way out the crypt and out the tree entrance, sending chakra into his counter seals to destroy them as he went, and to erase any sign of anyone ever being there. The next day Naruto wiped the sweat from his brow. He had done it, the previous Hokages were now his puppets. As excited as he was to begin training in the jutsu and skills he got from them, which seemed almost endless, especially the fourth, he looked at his creations with a sort of reverence. Would a god. The first, second, and fourth Hokages stood before Naruto in all their glory, but that wasn't what made Naruto hold them in such reverence. No, it was the discovery that he was indeed a descendant of the first and second Hokages. The first was his great-great-great-grandfather, and the second his great-great-great-granduncle, on his mom's side. Speaking of his parents, the thing that shocked him the most was the fact that he discovered he was the son of the fourth Hokage. The man he admired above all others was his father. He swore then and there that he would make his father proud of him, even if he had defiled his body and turned it into a puppet. From heaven, Minato Namikaze looked down at his son with a warm, proud smile on his face. Hey, you show them, Naruto. Become the legend you were meant to be and make good use of my body, son. I will always be watching over you in spirit, and now in body. I am proud of you, my son, and I always will be, said Minato as he continued to watch over his son with the first and second Hokages now by his side. He will become strong, even without the use of his puppets. He will become a legend to surpass all legends. These were the words of Hashirama Senju as looked upon his one true heir. That he will, brother, that he will, said Tobirama as nodded his head in agreement. There you are. You slippery little bastards, I will make you pay for escaping again, screamed the Shinigami as he raced towards the 3 Kages. Ah shit, he found us. Scatter! Screamed Minato as the Kages made a break for anime, tears running down their faces as the Shinigami tried to catch the 3 spirits that always seemed to escape his stomach. 2 years later, Naruto sat in his usual seat in the back of the class, waiting for his sensei to call him for his graduation exam. Over the years Naruto hadn't changed that much physically, other than gaining some more muscle from his training. Naruto now stood even with Sasuke in height. He had on black baggy shinobi pants with multiple pockets for scrolls and weapons. He had a blood-red sleeveless shirt on, and he wore a cloak similar to his father's. The difference being his cloak was blood-red like his shirt, and had black flames licking the bottom of the cloak, along with a symbol in the middle of the cloak. Naruto had designed the symbol himself. It consisted of 9 black tomos arranged in a circle around the kanji for fox. It was his symbol, his mark as a puppeteer. They had just finished the written portion of the exam, and Naruto was barely holding in his annoyance. Those damn bastards on the civilian council. Who do they think they are, poking their noses in shinobi affairs? I mean seriously, over half of our score on the graduation exam is a written exam. My father would weep if he could see the level his village has fallen to, thought Naruto in disgust. He was brought out of his thoughts by his sensei. Naruto Uzumaki, you're next, came the voice of Iruka. Naruto made his way into the exam room and noticed that Iruka and Mizuki were sitting behind a desk with a few leaf headbands still on the table. Okay, Naruto, your final exam consists of the transformation, substitution, and clone jutsus. First show us a transformation, said Iruka. The next thing either Chunin knew was they were staring into the face of the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. He didn't even use a hand sign, and that transformation is flawless, thought Iruka as Naruto undid the jutsu. Okay, Naruto, now show us a substitution. Nodding his head, Naruto smirked as he jumped in the air and substituted himself with Mizuki. The end result was Mizuki falling flat on his face with Naruto falling off his new chair laughing. Next to him Iruka wasn't faring any better. Mizuki scowled at Naruto, who was still chuckling as he walked back to his spot in front of his senseis. Alright Naruto, now the last thing you need to do is create 3 clones. Sensei, does it matter what kind of clone? Asked Naruto, surprising Iruka once again. He knows another type of clone jutsu? Was the thought that ran through Iruka's head. No, it doesn't matter, let's see what you got, Naruto, said Iruka. Nodding his head again, Naruto formed a shadow clone, a water clone, a lightning clone, and a wind clone and fire clone, all without hand signs. His 2 senseis were left gaping like fish out of water. Over the years Naruto had received average or a little above average grades in all aspects of his training. Shaking off his shock, Iruka gave Naruto a proud look. Congratulations, Naruto, you pass with flying colors, said Iruka as he handed Naruto a headband. Taking the headband, Naruto tied it securely around his forehead and walked out of the room with his head held high. Damn, the brat passed, so much for using him to steal the scroll for me, thought Mizuki bitterly, as watched Naruto leave the testing room. It was a little while after that Irika stood in front of the class looking proudly around at everyone that graduated. Congratulations to everyone who graduated, for those who didn't, better luck next year. Now all you should be here in a week to receive your teen placements as well as your jounin senseis. Until then, enjoy your time to rest, because once you start your time as full-fledged shinobi you won't have much time to rest, said Irika as he watched the class leave to tell their parents of their success. A week off, huh? Might as well test out my Kage puppets in that time, cause afterward I won't have any other chance with all the missions I'll have to do, thought Naruto as he made his way to his apartment building. Once he was inside his apartment, he decided to work on his secret project for the rest of the day and go test the Kages out on some bandit camps he got word of. It was well into the night that Naruto finally emerged from his apartment/lab and made his way out of the village, avoiding detection from the Umbu and making his way to the first of the bandit camps he knew of. When he arrived, he unsealed the first and attached his chakra strings to him, bringing him to life. With a flick of his wrist, Hashirama charged into the bandit camp, going through hand seals as he went. When he reached the middle of the camp, Naruto made his move. Wood style, dense forest creation, said Naruto. Suddenly the camp was in chaos as tents were destroyed by trees and bandits were killed by roots and branches. Not wanting to leave anyone alive to spread word of the attack, Naruto walked into the camp with Hashirama at his side. Walking through the camp proved just how strong the first was. Hardly any of the bandits were left alive, and the ones that were had crippling and maiming injuries. Once he was sure no one was left alive, he sealed the first back into the ceiling tattoo on his left arm with the kanji for one on it. Moving to the next bandit camp only helped to prove the power of a Kage, as Tobirama destroyed his camp with the tidal wave and whirlpool combination. Minato proved a little challenging with his speed, but after a few attempts and personally killing 5 bandits that saw him, he was able to get the hang of the 4th speed. Now that he had tested his Kage puppets, Naruto wanted to test himself. Heading to the last bandit camp he knew of, Naruto prepared himself for an all-out fight. Once he arrived, he didn't waste any time and charged straight into the camp. The first few bandits he ran into ended up with snapped necks and shattered spines from his strong taijutsu strikes. This camp seemed to be more organized than the others, because not a minute after he took out the first couple of bandits, did he have over 20 others charging him, weapons ready to kill. Time to test a few things I got from that Hyuga, thought Naruto, activating his Byakugan. Once the bandits were in range to kill him, he made his move. Pushing chakra out of all of his chakra points, Naruto spun on his foot. Rotation, he said as the bandits that tried to attack him were blown away. Taking advantage of their current state, Naruto took out a shuriken and threw it while forming hand signs. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. The one shuriken became 100, and the bandits didn't stand a chance. Moving deeper into the camp, Naruto decided to try some of his newest ninjutsu. Forming hand signs, Naruto decided to honor his ancestors, with style, leaf shuriken jutsu. Instantly the leaves from the trees surrounding the camp shot from their places and started slicing and killing any and all bandits in their path. Going through some more hand signs, Naruto prepared one of his favorite jutsu from his granduncle, water style, tidal surge jutsu. A giant wave of water came out of nowhere and crashed into the camp, drowning almost half the camp in the process. This one's for you, Dad, thought Naruto as he prepared one of his father's most prized techniques. Gathering chakra into his right hand, Naruto formed the ultimate jutsu of shape manipulation. Forming a few shadow clones each with the exact same jutsu in hand, each jumping towards one of the few surviving bandits, Naruto slammed the jutsu into the bandit's gut, muttering one of the most powerful words a shinobi can, Rasengan. Once he was sure no bandits were left alive, he started making his way towards the Leaf Village for some well-deserved sleep. For the next week, Naruto spent most of his time in his apartment working on his project, and sending shadow clones to continue working on his jutsu from the Kages. By the end of the week he had mastered most of his granduncle's jutsu as well as his grandfather's. His father's jutsu, though, he had hardly scratched a percentage of all the jutsu his father knew. And even though he hasn't told anyone about his project, other than Kurama, he should have it ready by the time the Chunin exams came around. He also managed to create another regular puppet during his week off. This one, unlike his others, was a defensive type of puppet. It had the build of a bodybuilder, and wore a dark brown sleeveless shirt and matching pants. On its elbow joints were circular shields that retracted into themselves and could withstand almost any attack. It had similar shields on its kneecaps and a larger one on its back. Naruto designed this puppet to be able to withstand any attack and provide shelter in the middle of enemy territory if necessary. We find Naruto once again sitting in the back of his class for the last time, waiting for his team assignment. The class was all doing their usual thing when their senseis weren't there. Kiba was talking to Akamaru, Shino was sitting silently waiting for their sensei's arrival. Hinata was poking her fingers together in nervousness while glancing at Naruto from the corner of her eyes. Shikamaru was asleep and Choji was swallowing bag after bag of chips. The emo was brooding while staring out at a tree like it would internally combust if he stared long enough. The bastards fangirls were doing what all fangirls do, annoy the hell out of you and squeal with the ideas going through their heads. Naruto was doing his best to keep calm, though on the inside he was close to sending Kami and Shinigami to deal with the curse called fangirls. While all this was going on, the Hokage and all the Jounin were in the council chambers deciding on who would be taking what teams. Now that teams 1 to 6 have been decided on, Team 7, which consists of Naruto Uzumaki, Kiba Inuzuka, and Ino Yamanaka, which Jounin would like to have them for their team? Asked the Hokage as he looked out at the crowd of Jounin. Lord Hokage, I would like to take them under my wing, said Kakashi as he stepped forward, for once not reading his little orange book. The Hokage smiled at Kakashi and was about to grant him his request until a pig-haired banshee interrupted him. No, Kakashi, you will take Lord Uchiha's and my daughter's team. He will need you to help train him in how to use his Sharingan, said Sayuki Haruno, Sakura's mother, as if she couldn't be denied. No, was all she received from the masked Jounin. Excuse me? Said a shocked Sayuki. It appears she wasn't expecting to be denied. No, I will not train that arrogant emo prick, or your banshee of a daughter neither has the skill, nor the attitude to be my students, said Kakashi as he glared at the councilwoman. But Lord Uchiha will need you to train him in how to use his Sharingan, shouted a random civilian council member. He can learn how to use it by himself, that's what I did, said Kakashi as he turned back to his leader. I agree, Kakashi, you will take young Naruto, Ino and Kiba as your team. As for you civilians, you have no say in the dealings of shinobi and as such do not need to be here for this meeting. The only reason you are here is because many of your children are in this class, so I will allow you to stay and listen in, but if any of you try anything you will be escorted out by the Umbu, said the Hokage in a tone that brokered no argument. Now moving on to Team 8, this consists of Hinata Hyuga, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akimichi. Who would like to take on this team? I will take them as my team, Lord Hokage, said Kurenai as she stepped forward and took her new team's profiles. Now that just leaves Team 10, the I mean Sasuke Uchiha, Shino Aburame and the bands I mean Sakura Haruno. I'm sorry Asuma, but you're the only Jounin sensei left so you will have to take this team, said the Hokage to youngest son with a look of complete understanding and sorrow in his eyes. Don't worry about it, Pops, they'll either follow orders or I'll drop them from the program, said Asuma. The civilian council was about to erupt into protest until the Hokage signaled for the Umbu in the room to show themselves. Needless to the civilians kept their mouths shut. I believe that is everything you needed, Irika. You may go give the team assignments, said the Hokage as he looked over at the scarred Chunin who wrote something down on his clipboard then shunshin to the academy. Upon arriving, Irika noticed almost of the girls in class arguing over who would sit beside their precious Sasuke. Sighing at the behavior of the kunoichi in training, Irika tried to get the class's attention, only to be met with more arguing. Getting annoyed, he used his big head jutsu. Everybody shut up and sit down now! Screamed the annoyed Chunin. Everyone who wasn't already sitting down scrambled to get to seat before their sensei got any angrier. Now that I have your attention, I will announce your new team placements and who your new senseis are. Team 1 is Team 7 is Naruto Uzumaki, Kiba Inuzuka and Ino Yamanaka. Your sensei is Kakashi Hatake. Before could continue, he was interrupted by one of his students. Iruka-sensei, why am I on a team with the Mutt and the Dobe? I should be with Sasuke-kun, screamed Ino as she started mumbling about things being unfair. Moving on, said Iruka ignoring the blonde girl, Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akimichi. Your sensei is Kurenai Yehi. Team 9 is still in circulation, so Team 10 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Shino Aburame. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. At that point, Ino started banging her head on the desk while Sakura pumped her fist into the air screaming. Take that, Ino pig, true love conquers all. Now that you know who your teammates and Jounin sensei are, I wish all of you luck as you continue your career as Shinobi of the Leaf, said Iruka before he walked out. Most of the new teams moved to sit together and get to know each other better. Hey Naruto, you want to grab Ino and eat before our sensei shows up? Asked Kiba as he walked up to the blonde. Sure, besides I know our sensei and he is always 2 hours late forever. Naruto got to finish cause at that moment the door opened to reveal none other than the famed copycat himself. Team 7 meet me on the roof. But before Kakashi could react he had a kunai to his throat. Who are you, and what have you done with Kakashi-sensei? Asked our favorite blonde in a murderous tone. Most of the class was shocked at the display. Naruto, who the bastard and his fangirls called a dobe cause he beat Sasuke in a spar once, had moved behind his new sensei and put a kunai to his throat before anyone could blink. His new teammates were just as shocked as everyone else. Damn, when did Naruto get so fast? I couldn't even smell a trail. It's almost like he went from one place to another instantaneously. I got to ask him how he got so fast, thought Kiba as he continued trying to find a scent trail. Ino was doing little better as her jaw was on the desk in front of her. Holy shit, maybe I underestimated Naruto, he's fast. I'm glad he's on my team though. Kakashi, however, didn't miss a beat. I am Kakashi. I decided to show up on time whenever it involves my team and you specifically. If you want another reason why, then it's out of fear of you using those brothers of yours to try and get payback. Now the class was even more shocked. Not only had Naruto gotten the drop on a Jounin, but his sensei was also afraid of having something of Naruto's used against him. What could the dobe have that could make even a Jounin fear him, was the collective thought going through the heads of many of the genin. Oh, it is you. Sorry about that, sensei, but you can never be too careful, said Naruto as he put his kunai away and stepped in front of his sensei as Kiba and Ino finally got over their shock and moved to stand beside the blonde. No harm done, meet me on the roof in 5. With that, Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke, grabbing his teammates' shoulders before they could move and shunching them up to the roof in a swirl of leaves, once again leaving behind a shocked class. When they all arrived on the roof of the academy, Kakashi motioned for them to take seat in front of him. Now why don't we start off by introducing ourselves? I'll go first. My name is Kakashi Hataki. I like a lot of things and I dislike a few things. My hobbies you're not old enough to know and my dream for the future, meh. 2 of the new genin were thinking the same thing. All we learned was his name. Alright, how about you with the dog? You next, said Kakashi gesturing towards Kiba. My name is Kiba Inuzuka, and this is my partner Akamaru. I like most animals and walking Akamaru. I dislike fangirls and cats. My hobbies are training in my clan style and playing with Akamaru. My dream for the future is to become the head of my clan. Akamaru added in his part in the form of a few barks. Alright, next, the dumb blonde, said Kakashi pointing at Ino. My name is Ino Yamanaka, and I'm not dumb. My likes are Sasuke-kun and flowers. I dislike forehead girl and people who destroy flowers. My hobbies are watching Sasuke-kun and gardening, and my dream for the future. At this point she blushes crimson and squeals. Great, a fangirl. Well, I'll have to break her of that before Naruto or Kiba kill her, thought Kakashi as he watched his 2 male students holding their ears in pain. And lastly, our other blonde. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are my true friends, my puppets, my parents and ancestors, and training. I dislike fangirls, the emo bastard, and those who can't tell the difference between a kunai and the scroll it's sealed in. My hobbies include creating new puppets and training. My dream for the future is to become a shinobi my parents and ancestors would be proud of. And before you dismiss us, sensei, I would think it would best if I told them about that. Understanding what Naruto meant, Kakashi decided to allow it. This can serve as their test. If the other 2 can't accept Naruto for who he is or they see him as the Kyuubi, they won't be worth training. Kiba and Ino were curious. What could Naruto have to tell them that could be so important? They didn't have to wait long as Naruto began his explanation. What do you 2 know about the Kyuubi attack 12 years ago? Asked Naruto with his eyes closed. The 4th killed it at the cost of his life, said Ino, even more confused. It didn't help when Naruto started chuckling at her answer. That's a lie. No one, not even the 4th, can kill a bijou. But the 4th did the next best thing, he sealed it. However, he couldn't seal it into an object, the Kyuubi would just break out, and he couldn't seal it into an adult since their chakra coils are already developed, and the Kyuubi would have destroyed them from the inside out and escaped. The only thing the 4th could do was seal it inside of a newborn child. That child is me. When Naruto opened his eyes to see their reactions, he was tackled into a hug by Ino. Oh Naruto, you must have lived a hard life with a burden like that. Now I understand why all the villagers tell their children to stay away from you, but you're not the Kyuubi, you're its jailer, the one who keeps the Kyuubi at bay, sobbed Ino as she just latched onto Naruto harder. So that explains why you always smelled like a fox. Don't worry Naruto, I'll make sure anyone who tries to harm you because of the Kyuubi pays dearly, growled Kiba as he held his hand out to Naruto. Taking the hand, the 2 gave one another a nod as a feeling of brotherhood overcame the 2. While all this was going on, Kakashi couldn't help but smile at the scene before. His little brother had just found 2 more people that cared for him. As far as I'm concerned, they already passed the test. I'll spar with each of them to see what I have to work with. Alright, now that you 2 know about Naruto's secret, meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow morning at 6. I still need to determine what your skills are now. See ya. With that, he disappeared in a swirl of leaves to prepare for tomorrow. Hey, do you 2 want to come to my apartment? I think getting to know each other better, and knowing what each other's skills are will make us a more efficient team, said Naruto as he stood up with Ino, who was wiping her tears away. Yeah, I'm in, said Kiba as Akamaru yipped his agreement. Count me in, said Ino, as the 3 of them made their way to Naruto's apartment. Once they arrived, Kiba and Ino were surprised to find the lace relatively clean. Leading them over to the living area, Naruto gestured to the chairs around his small coffee table while he sat on the couch. Okay, first I'll tell you guys what I know about Kakashi-sensei. From what I know, he is a ninjutsu specialist by nature, but is also quite skilled at tracking and taijutsu. I don't know much about his genjutsu, other than he prefers to not use it, said Naruto as his teammates nodded their heads every now and then. Ino, what about you? I know the basics of my clan's jutsu, and I can use the first one. I know the academy taijutsu and no genjutsu, said Ino as the two boys looked at her incredulously. What? That's it, Ino, do you ever train outside of the academy? Asked Naruto. No, not really, was the reply he got. Ino, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you, but you suck, said Naruto in a deadpan. Ino was about to shout at him, but he cut her off. Listen, Ino, what do you do instead of training when you're at home? Watch my figure with a diet and make sure I look beautiful so I can win over Sasuke-kun, of course, she answered as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Sighing, Naruto knew he had to break her of that now or she would end up getting herself killed in the future. Ino, you're a ninja. You don't need to be on a diet cause as ninjas we burn way more calories than we normally would. You're only hindering yourself if you stay on a diet. Now, Ino, I want you to tell me, has the bastard ever actually given you or any of the other fangirls the time of day? Naruto asked he, and Kiba looked to Ino for her response. She was about to shout that of course he does, until she stopped and actually thought about it. None of her attempts at asking Sasuke out have worked, and whenever she tried to start a conversation with him he always ignored her. No, I guess he hasn't, said Ino a little depressed. Ino, the only thing that emo prick thinks about is how can he avenge his clan and get more power, said Kiba as Akamaru walked up to Ino and hopped into her lap trying to cheer her up. Smiling at the dog, Ino petted him and turned to her teammates. I guess you're right, he doesn't care about anything else other than power. Ugh, I can't believe I wasted my time chasing after him, shouted Ino as she tried to understand why she went after him. It's okay, Ino. At least now you see the error of your ways and you can focus on your ninja career now, said Kiba as he gave Ino a thumbs up. Alright Kiba, what are your skills? Asked Naruto as he thought of a way to help Ino improve. I'm good at taijutsu and close-range combat. I can use a few of my clan's jutsu. Most of the jutsu I know revolve around Akamaru and I working as a team, and I have no genjutsu, said Kiba as Akamaru jumped back over to him and crawled into his jacket. Alright, now for my skills. I am fairly good at genjutsu, as well as taijutsu, but my ninjutsu is through the roof. I am quite proficient in the art of sealing, and like me ninjutsu, my skills with my puppets are through the roof. Earlier today when Kakashi-sensei said he would be on time for team meetings for fear of my using my brothers on him, he was referring to my two strongest regular puppets. I can create what is called a human puppet, which is a puppet made from a human corpse, and before you freak out, no, I have not gone around killing people just to make them puppets. I only turn those who attack me into puppets, explained Naruto when he saw Ino about to freak and Kiba go wide-eyed. Letting out a breath she didn't know she was holding, Ino asked the question both she and Kiba were thinking. Could you show us one of your human puppets? Nodding his head, Naruto removed a scroll from his pack and opened it on the table, unsealing one of his shinobi puppets. Attaching his chakra strings, the puppet came to life standing before the three of them. Whoa, so how many puppets do you have in total? I'd say around 100 or so, said Naruto after thinking it over for a few minutes. Alright, well I got to get going before my mom kills me for staying out too late. I'll catch you guys tomorrow for training, see ya. Called Kiba as he and Akamaru left in the direction of the Inuzuka compound. Would you like me to walk you home, Ino? Asked Naruto as he resealed his puppet. Yeah, I'd like that, Naruto, said Ino as she and Naruto left his apartment and made their way down the village's streets. They walked in a comfortable silence until they stopped in front of the Yamanaka flower shop. I'll see you tomorrow, Naruto-kun, said Ino as she waved bye to her teammate and went inside. It wasn't until she closed the door that either of them realized what she said. Naruto, despite his tough, dark exterior, blushed crimson when he realized what she called him. He began walking back to his apartment, a true smile gracing his face for the first time in years. At the same time, Ino was fighting down a full-body blush as she walked to her room, hoping to avoid her parents. Unfortunately, her hopes were shattered when she heard her mother's voice. Ino, honey, dinner's ready. Fighting down the blush as best she could, she walked into the dining room and took her seat across from her father. How was your last day of the academy, sweetie? Her mother asked after she placed the rest of dinner on the table. It was good. We met our teams and Jounin-sensei's today, said Ino as she placed a piece of chicken on her plate. Princess, I thought you were on another one of those diets of yours? asked Inoichi as he allowed his hopes to raise slightly that his daughter was finally seeing the error of her ways. I was, until one of my teammates helped me realize that as ninja we burn more calories than non-shinobi people, said Ino as she started digging into her dinner with gusto. Thank you, Kami. My daughter is finally going to take her life as Kunoichi serious. Forget my rule of no boys allowed. If a boy got her Tio realized this, I'll gladly let him date my daughter, screamed Chibi Inoichi as he danced around in his head, while on the outside he just smiled at his daughter. So tell me, princess, who's on your team? Asked Inoichi, not that I don't already know. Oh, I have Naruto Uzumaki and Kiba Inuzuka on my team. Naruto-kun was the one who got me to realize that I wasn't taking my career seriously, said Ino, not realizing she added the kun to Naruto's name again. And that was big mistake. Naruto-kun, when did this happen, sweetie? I thought you were after that Uchiha? Asked her mother with a glint in her eyes that promised endless teasing. Well, Naruto-kun made me realize that all my attempts to ask Sasuke out haven't worked. And both he and Kiba opened my eyes to what he really is, a self-centered power-hungry bastard who only thinks for himself and no one else, said Ino with surprising venom in her voice. Well, why don't you invite Naruto over sometime? I would like to meet him in person. Both Ino and her mother whirled around to face Inoichi, who had a piece of chicken in his mouth. What? He asked with the chicken sticking out of his mouth. Who are you and what have you done with my dad/husband? Screamed both Yamanaka women. I'm me, nothing's happened, said a thoroughly confused Inoichi. You never want me to bring home any guys I meet unless it's to scare them off. Why do you want to meet Naruto so badly? Asked Ino as she tried to understand what her father was up to. Ino, has Naruto told you his secret? Asked Inoichi with a serious face. Yes, he has. He told both Kiba and I after we met our sensei. I understand the burden he's had to bear and I accept him for him. Inoichi and his wife were surprised with the fire that burned in their daughter's eyes when she talked about her fellow blonde. Both parents smiled knowing that they would be getting to know Naruto Uzumaki very well in the coming years. Hey, your son has more luck with the ladies than any of us ever did, said Hashirama as he and his fellow Kages watched their legacy down on earth. Yeah, the lucky bastard, I bet that perverted sensei of mine will have a field day trying to get research for his books off of him, laughed Minato as he fought to stay upright. My only regret is that I died before he published that series. It would have been very interesting to see what he wrote, said Tobirama with a slight nosebleed. All three Kages broke out laughing at that point and fell down on the cloud. They were laughing so hard. That is until they all looked up to see the angry face of the Shinigami staring back at them. Minato, what was it you said last time we ran into Shinigami? I think it went something like, get the hell out of my way, every man for himself. With that, all three Kages made to run for it, only to run straight into each other. Now then, time to go back to the stomach, you three, said the Shinigami as he moved towards the three spirits. Hey ha ha ha. Kakashi stood across from his team, deciding on who he should test first. Looking over each of them, he noticed Ino was standing a little closer to his little brother than she was the day before. Oh, I finally have a little blackmail and something I can use to tease my little brother. Ha ha ha, you're in trouble now, Naruto, thought Kakashi as he stepped into the middle of the clearing. Alright, today you'll each come and spar with me one-on-one so I can determine what you need to improve on, said Kakashi as the three genin nodded in understanding. Okay, first the kunoichi of the team. Ino walked into the clearing and faced Kakashi while she got into the basic academy stance. Seems I'll have to find a suitable taijutsu style for her. Once he gave the signal to begin, Ino charged him with her fist cocked ready to strike. Once she was in range, she let her fist fly towards her sensei's stomach. Stepping to the side to avoid the weak strike, Kakashi moved in to finish this early. Raising his knee, Kakashi brought it up, hitting Ino in the stomach and sending her crashing to the ground. Damn, I really do suck, thought Ino as she tried to get up only to fall down again. But before she could hit the ground, she found herself in her blonde teammate's arms. Blushing a new shade of red never seen before, she managed to mutter a small thank you as Naruto carried her and set her down next to the training post. Alright, next is Kiba. Walking into the field, Kiba got into his family stance and waited for the signal to start. Begin, said Kakashi as he prepared for the charge. Rushing forward, Kiba lashed out with a left hook which was blocked by Kakashi. Using the caught arm as leverage, Kiba managed to bring his right leg up and kick the jounin in the ribs. Kiba's smirk at getting a hit vanished when he saw Kakashi burst into smoke. Looking around, Kiba tried to find his sensei when he noticed his scent behind him. Turning to punch his sensei, Kiba only hit air and became even more scared when he heard his sensei's voice behind him. Nice try, Kiba, but this is over. Leaf Village Secret Finger Jutsu, 1,000 years of death, screamed Kakashi as he jammed his fingers, which were in the tiger sign, into Kiba's butt. Nothing happened for a few seconds until Kiba shot off like a rocket, grabbing his but while howling in pain. Kiba crashed right beside his teammates, who winced at the attack the effect it had. "Okay, last but not least Naruto," said Kakashi as he moved into a stance as his student did the same. When he gave the signal to begin, Naruto shot at him with Jounin-level speeds. Jumping into the air, Naruto tried to hit his sensei with a spin kick to the head, which Kakashi ducked under at the last second, not expecting such an attack. Taking advantage of their position, Kakashi grabbed onto Naruto's ankle and threw the blonde away. Following his student, knowing that he would recover soon, Kakashi sent an axe kick to the blonde's shoulder. Catching the kick before it could hit, Naruto copied his sensei and threw the man away from him and charged, only this time with a punch aimed at his sensei's chest. While this was going on, Kiba and Ino looked like two fish out of water. Each was trying to find out when Naruto got so good and why he didn't show it in the academy. "Oh man, Naruto's even better than I thought. He's going toe-to-toe with a Jounin and holding his own. I have got to ask him how he got so good," thought Kiba as he continued to watch the fight. "Naruto-kun, what else have you been keeping from everyone? You never showed this kind of skill in the academy." "It doesn't matter, I'll get stronger so I can stand with you, Naruto-kun," thought Ino as the fight came to an end with Kakashi getting Naruto into a headlock. "Well, I must say I'm impressed, each of you performed admirably. Ino, you need to improve on your taijutsu as well as your stamina as well as chakra reserves from what I can sense from you. Kiba, your taijutsu is good, but you charge in without a plan and just swing wild shots hoping to get a hit. We'll have to work on your concentration and patience. As for you, Naruto, your taijutsu is good, your stamina is insane, and you came at me with a plan on how to counter. For now you can train using your normal way until Ino and Kiba are up to snuff. That said, we won't be doing any missions for the first few months. Instead, I'll be training you three till you can't stand, and then we'll train some more. My intention is to have you three at least high Chunin to low Jounin level by the time the Chunin exams come around," said Kakashi as he looked over his team. Each of them had a burning determination in their eyes. He knew that they would go far together, perhaps even surpassing the legendary Sannin trained by the third. For the next 3 months, Team 7 trained almost endlessly. While Kakashi seemed laid back and friendly on the outside, he was a slave driver at heart. The exercises he had them doing could almost be called inhumane. Even Naruto, with his ungodly stamina, was hard-pressed to complete the exercises. The first month was spent improving their taijutsu and stamina, as well as their teamwork. Kakashi discovered that 3 genin had a sixth sense of sorts when it came to working together. They were like a well-oiled machine when they fought together, covering each other's blind spots and using combination after combination to throw their enemy off balance. Over the course of the month, Ino had studied up on her clan style, but discovered that it didn't really suit her flexible body. Instead, she trained using the cat's paw style Naruto had discovered when he raided the Hokage's library all those years ago. Her stamina had shot through roof during the month. Between Naruto's insane stamina and Kakashi's sadistic hell runs, she had improved by leaps and bounds. Kiba's taijutsu, while good when they started, had improved almost as much as Ino's. They discovered that while the style worked for him, Kiba wasn't really suited to use the regular Inuzuka style of taijutsu. When Kakashi had asked if his clan had any other styles he could use that involved using a dog partner, Kiba told him he didn't know of any. After that conversation, Kiba searched through his clan's jutsu library and discovered a long-lost style called the Dog's Fang style that no one other than the founder of the clan had been able to use. When Kiba studied it and tried some of the stances and attacks, he noticed that his style felt almost like it was made for him. When he and Akamaru tried using some of the combinations the style used, they pulled them off with ease. Afterward, Kiba had abandoned the regular Inuzuka style in favor of his ancestors' style. Like Ino, Kiba's and Akamaru's stamina shot through the roof. Naruto, while already quite skilled, had discovered that even though he knew multiple styles from the shinobi he turned into puppets, none of them truly worked well with him. When he tried to find another style to train in, Kurama had suggested he train using the Fox Claw style, his own personal style. Naruto also discovered that Kurama was even more of a slave driver than Kakashi ever was, with how he ran him nearly ragged, teaching him the Fox Claw style. Naruto's already incredible stamina had only increased with the constant training from Kakashi and Kurama. During their second month of training, Kakashi had focused mainly on chakra control as well as figuring out their elemental affinities. Naruto proved to be the best at control on the squad and ended up helping Ino and Kiba improve. Halfway through the month, Kakashi had asked Naruto to teach the other two the Shadow Clone Jutsu to help speed up their training. Once Naruto had taught them the Shadow Clone, the rate at which they were improving shot clean through the roof. While Kiba and Ino could only make 5 and 3 clones respectively at their current level, it still increased their rate of learning enough to impress Kakashi. When he had tested them to find their elemental affinities, he almost had a heart attack from the results. When Kiba focused chakra into the piece of chakra paper Kakashi had given him, the paper crumpled up, turned into dirt, and then burst into flames. Ino's paper was just as shocking. When she added her chakra, the paper split down the middle, then one side turned damp while the other turned into dirt. Naruto's, however, was the most shocking. His paper split 5 pieces, then one caught fire, another got soggy, one crumpled up, one turned to dirt, and the last piece turned into wood. After getting over his shock, Kakashi had them get started on learning to manipulate their elements. With the use of the shadow clones, each of them was able to master their elements halfway through the 3rd month. Team 7 spent the rest of the 3rd month working on stealth, while they had shadow clones learning and studying new jutsu and techniques that a clone of Kakashi taught them, and that a clone of Naruto's showed them. Kakashi currently was standing before his team with a proud smile adorning his masked face. His team had come far in the time they spent training. As he looked them over, he noticed the differences in them compared when they first met. Kiba was a little taller, matching Naruto in height as well as muscle mass. He no longer wore his gray jacket with the fur on the hood. Instead, he now wore black umbu-style pants and an umbu-style sleeveless shirt with an open black coat that went down to his waist, over it with red lightning dancing on the button of the jacket. He had umbu-grade arm and leg bracers, and he had grown his hair out a little, making his already feral appearance even more prominent. Akamaru stood by Kiba's side, because of the style he and Kiba started using and the exercises he did with his master and his teammates. Akamaru had grown fast, already reaching a little above Kiba's knee in height. Ino had also changed greatly over the course of their training. Now that she had given up her diet, she had gained a little bit of muscle on her body. She no longer wore her purple 2-piece outfit. Instead, she now wore a pair of black skin-tight shorts that reached just above her knees under a black sash-like skirt that went down to her knee on her right side and to about mid-thigh on her left that had a water pattern at the bottom. She also wore a skin-tight umbu-grade black shirt that showed her midsection and complemented her developing figure. She had umbu-style arm and leg bracers like Kiba, but under her arm bracers she wore black combat bandages wrapped up to her elbows. Naruto's outfit hadn't changed much, except he'd taken to wearing umbu arm and leg bracers like his teammates. Glancing over his team one last time, Kakashi spoke to them with a proud tone. "I'm proud of all of you. You have come far in only 3 months' time, and that alone is impressive. Now I believe it is time that we go get our first mission from the Hokage." That said, all of them shunshed to the Hokage tower, Kiba taking Akamaru with him. As they walked into the mission room, they noticed Team 8 and Team 10 were there as well, and that Sasuke and Sakura seemed to be glaring at the cat that was currently being crushed in a hug by the daimyo's wife, Lady Shima. The Hokage looked up at the sound of the door opening and noticed the new Team 7 enter the room to receive their first mission. "Ah, Kakashi, I was wondering when I would be seeing you and your team. Now I presume you're here for your first mission, is that correct?" asked the aged Kage, catching the attention of everyone else in the room. When the other rookies saw Team 7, they did a double take their appearances. They looked nothing like they did in the academy. Shikamaru, Choji, and even though he didn't show it, Shino were wondering how Naruto and Kiba had gotten so much muscle, while Sakura and Hinata were looking at Ino trying to figure out how she had gotten that kind of figure. "What, I can't believe it, Ino Pig looks beautiful, and with that figure she might catch Sasuke's eye before I do. I can't let that happen," Sakura thought as she stared at her rival. "That witch, if she's trying to seduce Naruto-kun, I swear I will destroy her," thought Hinata as she planned what she would do to Ino, and they weren't exactly the healthiest of thoughts. "Yes, Lord Hokage, I would like to request a C-rank mission for my team," said Kakashi, surprising the other Jounin and the Hokage in the process. "Are you serious, Kakashi? Your team hasn't even done one mission yet and you're asking for a C-rank?" asked Kurenai as she looked at the cycloptic Jounin like he was crazy. "I agree with Kurenai on this one, Kakashi. Your team hasn't done a single mission for 3 months and the first one you request is a C-rank. You sure they can handle it?" asked Asuma, who looked worried for Kakashi's young charges. He's probably bluffing. There's no way the dobe could handle a C-rank mission. He would probably fail at a D-rank one," said Sasuke in an arrogant tone. "Yes, Sasuke-kun's right. There's no way that loser could even do a D-rank mission right. I almost feel sorry for you, Ino Pig. Your team is pathetic," Sakura screeched and then started to laugh while pointing at Team 7. No sooner had she finished than was there a blade to hers and Sasuke's necks. Everyone was frozen in shock. They didn't even sense the presence of the attackers until they already had the 2 genin trapped. Sakura was being held off the ground with Kami behind her, his tanto to her throat ready to slit it. Sasuke wasn't faring any better. He was being held down by Shinigami, who had the hidden blade in his arm at his throat. "You know, you two are really starting to annoy me. If it wasn't for the fact that I promised the Hokage I wouldn't kill people who didn't attack me first, you two would be dead right now." The tone in Naruto's voice made everyone's blood run cold, except for his teammates and sensei. "Naruto, please release them, we don't need any unnecessary bloodshed right now," said the calm voice of the Hokage, though on the inside he was actually thinking of allowing Naruto to carry out that threat. "Very well, Lord Hokage. Once again, everyone other than Team 7 was in a state of shock. Did Naruto Uzumaki just show respect to the Hokage? Was the general thought that went through almost everyone's head. With a twitch of his fingers, Kami and Shinigami were standing behind Naruto, who made a hand sign, and they disappeared in a poof of smoke into their storage seals on Naruto's shoulders where the kanji for Kami and Shinigami were tattooed. "Hey old man, can we get our mission now?" asked Naruto as everyone relaxed, knowing that it wasn't the end of the world. "Yes, I have one right here. It is an escort mission to Wave Country. You will be escorting a bridge builder by the name of Tazuna to his home in the Land of Waves, and you will protect him until he completes the bridge he is currently building." Team 7 nodded their heads in acceptance. Sasuke was about to demand that he get the mission instead of Naruto, when the Hokage cut him. "Send in Tazuna, please." A man in his 50s or 60s walked into the room, wearing a brown sleeveless shirt and tan pants. He had towel around his shoulders and he carried a bottle of sake and was obviously a little drunk. When the Hokage introduced him to Team 7, he was a little put off. "This is my protection, they're nothing but a bunch of snot-noses brats. Especially that blonde in the red there, he looks like the weakest one of them all." He managed to slur out, only to have two Saban barely miss his little friend, and then found himself trapped with 3 blades, each at a vital point on his body, pressing into him. No one could believe what they saw, or lack thereof. Team 7 had moved and trapped Tazuna before anyone could even blink, and each had a kunai poised to kill the man should he do anything stupid. "We may be young, but we are more than skilled enough to handle this mission," said Kiba while pressed his kunai a little harder into Tazuna's heart. Akamaru growled his agreement from his position in front of the trapped man. "The first thing a shinobi is taught is to never underestimate their opponents. Doing that could lead to your death," said Ino, pushing her blade closer to Tazuna's kidney. "The Saban I threw at you are coated in a poison that will burn off any limit infects. So unless you want an involuntary gender change, I suggest you not mouth off about us again," said Naruto as he pressed his kunai harder into Tazuna's neck, drawing a little blood. "That's enough. Team 7 meet at the south gate in 20 minutes, dismissed," said Kakashi as Team 7 all shunshined away to prepare. "Tazuna, I may be their sensei and superior, but next time you do something stupid like that insults them, even I won't be able to save you." With that said, Kakashi shunshined to get ready, leaving behind a scarred bridge builder, an impressed Hokage, and a freaked-out Team 8 and 10. 20 minutes later, Team 7 stood waiting for their client to show up. 5 minutes later, Tazuna could be seen approaching the gate, his bottle of sake still in his hand and a traveling pack on his back. "You're late. From now on, Tazuna, you will show up on time or you'll be left behind, understand?" asked Kakashi with a little bit of killing intent to help get the point across. All the aged bridge builder could do was nod his head furiously. He was currently too busy trying not to wet himself to talk. "Good, then let's move out." The group walked in silence for a few hours, the shinobi on alert for any possible threat, and Tazuna was busy trying to remain calm and not give away that he lied about the mission specs. After a while of walking, the group passed what appeared to be a puddle on the side of the road. Noticing something was off, Naruto signaled his team, asking as they caught it. They each responded yes, and the genin braced themselves for their first official fight. After the group passed the puddle, 2 figures rose from the water and charged the unsuspecting leaf shinobi. They managed to wrap the spiked chain linking them together around Kakashi and spoke in unison. "One down." With a hard yank on their chain, Kakashi was shredded to pieces. After they killed Kakashi, the 2 moved to finish Tazuna, only to have a shuriken stick their chain to a tree courtesy of Ino. Kiba then threw a kunai that lodged in the middle of the shuriken, holding the chain in place. Naruto took the opening his teammates provided and threw 2 poisoned Senbon at the demon brothers. The Senbon met their mark and pierced the 2's hearts, killing them almost instantly. Kakashi appeared out of the tree he was hiding in and approached the group. "Good job, team. You showed excellent teamwork in trapping and eliminating those 2. Naruto, if you want the bodies are yours to turn into puppets, you could learn very valuable secrets from them," said Kakashi as Naruto placed preservation seals on the 2 brothers and sealed them into a scroll for later. "Now, Tazuna, I believe you have some explaining to do." Fearing they would abandon the mission, Tazuna told his little sob story about how the country was dying because of Gato, and if he didn't finish the bridge then his country would never recover. Kakashi left the decision to his team, and they decided to continue on, saying it would be good real-world experience. They continued making their way towards Wave and eventually came to a port where a boat was waiting to take them to Wave. Once they reached the country, they made their towards Tazuna's house when Naruto and Kiba heard what sounded like a blade flying through the air. "Everybody down!" The 2 shouted as they dove for the ground, Kiba grabbing Akamaru on the way, Kakashi grabbing Tazuna, and Naruto grabbing Ino. They barely made it to the ground before a huge zanbato flew over their heads. The sword embedded itself into a tree, and when everyone looked up they saw a man wearing blue pin-stripped pants, no shirt and arm warmers appear of the handle of the blade. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist, former member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist, A-rank rogue ninja and master of the silent killing technique, said Naruto as he got up into a defensive stance, the others following him with Tazuna behind them. Hey, you're pretty smart, kid. Tell me, how is it a wet behind the ears leaf genin knows who I am? Asked Zabuza as he bent down and gripped the handle of his sword. Simple, I stole the latest bingo book from an umbu, said Naruto as if it was nothing. At that point Zabuza burst out in a crazed laugh. Man, thanks kid, I needed that. But now on to business, hand over the old man and I'll let you live, said Zabuza as he gripped his sword tighter, preparing to strike. Naruto was about to respond when Kakashi put hand in front of him. Looking at his sensei, Naruto understood that he would handle their new friend. Naruto jumped back with Ino and Kiba forming a defensive delta around Tazuna, with Naruto at point. So, the man who copied over 1,000 jutsu, the copy ninja, Sharingan Kakashi, said Zabuza as Kakashi pulled up headband revealing the Sharingan in his left eye. Let's see who the better assassin is, shall we? With that Zabuza pulled his sword from the tree and landed on the lac in front of them. Hidden mist jutsu. A thick mist started forming and obscured everyone's vision. Each member of Team 7 expelled chakra from their bodies to help dissipate the mist a little. Before any of them could try and find Zabuza, his voice rang through the mist. 8 points: liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, neck vein, brain, kidneys, heart. Now which shall be my target? The 3 surrounding Tazuna moved closer together to protect him when the voice finished. He's an assassin, he'll want to do this in the fastest way possible, and to do that he would probably take one of us out first, and then kill Tazuna and flee with his mission accomplished. Our formation eliminates the odds of him sneaking up on one of us without the others knowing. The only weakness in this formation is the middle, said Naruto as he spun around stabbing his kunai into Zabuza's stomach. His teammates had responded at the same time, and each of them had stabbed Zabuza in a vital part of his body. However, instead of blood coming from the wounds, it was water. The clone burst into water, while Zabuza appeared behind Naruto and slashed him clean in half with his sword. The genin will be scared now, it'll be easier to kill them, thought Zabuza as he glanced at the 2 remaining genin. To his surprise, neither looked affected by their teammate's death, in fact they were smirking. Hey, no brow, looking for me? Asked Naruto as he stood on the tip of Zabuza's sword. Whirling around to face the voice, Zabuza's eyes widened when he saw the kid he supposedly killed standing on his still extended blade. Before he could react, Kakashi intervened and attacked Zabuza with a barrage of punches and kicks. Zabuza was hard-pressed to hold his own against the copycat, since taijutsu had never truly been his best skill. Breaking off from the fight, Zabuza jumped onto the lake while forming hand signs. With the Sharingan, Kakashi was able to predict his movements, and copied them in perfect sync. They finished their hand signs at the same time and launched their jutsus. Water Style, Water Dragon Jutsu. Both dragons collided in a battle of wills, while their casters charged in and met in another round of taijutsu. Seeing the opening, Naruto signaled to his teammates, and they prepared their own jutsu. Lightning Style, Lightning Spear Jutsu. Lightning began jumping between Kiba's hands and formed a small ball of energy in between them. Once the energy was condensed, Kiba shot a long spear of lightning towards Zabuza. Water Style, Water Shark Jutsu. The water at the edge of the lake started bubbling until a shark made completely out of water shot out at Zabuza. Fire Style, Flaming Arrow Jutsu. Naruto's right hand erupted in flames, and when he jabbed his hand forward, the flames shot out towards its target. Seeing the 3 lethal jutsu heading for him, Zabuza broke off from Kakashi and moved towards the edge of the forest in hopes of escaping. Unfortunately for him, Kakashi anticipated this and threw 4 kunai that nailed Zabuza to a tree. Walking up to the prone man, Kakashi took out another kunai ready to end it. Before he could deliver the final blow though, 2 Saban came out of nowhere and embedded themselves in Zabuza's neck. Thank you for your help in capturing him. I have been tracking him for some time now. Now if you will excuse me, I must dispose of the body, said a ninja wearing the standard Hunter-nin mask of the Mist Village. He jumped down to the body and shunshined away from the Leaf team. Alright team, let's keep moving, we still need to get to Tazuna's before nightfall, said Kakashi as he lowered his headband, and they continued making their way to their client's house. It was an hour later that they arrived at Tazuna's house. They were introduced to Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, and his grandson Inari, who just glared at them and left. After everyone had some time to rest, Kakashi gathered his team and Tazuna in the living room for a meeting. Alright, first off, I don't think we've seen the last of Zabuza. He's probably still alive and preparing for another strike. This information caused Tazuna to almost lose control of his bulls, while the genin looked calm and ready for another fight. I agree, Sensei, that Hunter-nin should have disposed of the body right on the spot, but instead took it away. He's probably working with Zabuza, perhaps an apprentice. Based on how old the boy looked, said Naruto as the other ninja in the room nodded in agreement. Also, sensei, how far are we from the Hidden Mist village? I'd say about a day's run across the water, said Kakashi. Why do you ask? There's something there that I think could be helpful when we face one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist again, and I would like to go and get it, said Naruto as his team nodded in understanding, having got the hint. Very well, Naruto, you can go get it. But be careful, remember Mist in the middle of a civil war right now, said Kakashi as he looked at his student who nodded in understanding. I'll leave behind a blood clone to keep an eye on the house, while you 3 guard Tazuna. Zabuza may not attack innocents, but Gato wouldn't hesitate to, said Naruto as he took out a kunai. Slicing open his palm, he ran through a few hand seals and said, Forbidden Art, Blood Clone Jutsu. The blood from his palm fell to the floor and started to grow and expand. When it finally stopped, another Naruto stood in the room. I'll head out now, sensei. My clone will watch over the house while you guys are busy. See you later. Naruto was out the door and already a dot on the horizon after he finished. Okay, while Naruto's gone, we'll take shifts in guarding Tazuna while he's at the bridge. I'll take first watch, while you 2 use that time to train. Ino will go second and then Kiba. When it's not my shift, I'll be helping whichever one of you is not on duty train, understand? Said Kakashi, receiving nods from his team and Tazuna. Be careful out there, little brother, and hurry back with that help. It will be interesting to see the look on Zabuza's face when he sees what Naruto has, thought Kakashi as he and his team laughed a little. Apparently they shared similar thoughts. It has been a week since Team 7's arrival in Wave, and Naruto's departure for Mist. When the team got ready for the day, they had a feeling today something was going to happen. It was decided that all of them would guard Tazuna today, leaving the Naruto clone to watch the house. When they arrived at the bridge, they discovered all the workers unconscious, sprawled all over the place. A heavy mist started forming over the bridge, while an all too familiar voice came from it. Well, it seems we meet again, Kakashi. It looks like you're missing one of your students. Did I scare him off? Asked Zabuza with mirth in his voice as he stepped into view with the fake Hunter Neem by his side. Like Naruto-kun would be scared of an eyebrowless freak like you, said Ino as she drew a kunai ready to fight. Kiba mimicked her, drawing one of his own while Akamaru lowered himself to ground ready to fight. Kakashi raised his headband knowing this was going to get ugly. Oh, seems you hit nerve with that one, Zabuza-sama. It seems you have a crush on that blonde teammate of yours, don't you? Asked Haku from behind his mask. Maybe I do, what of it? Said Ino. She was starting to get annoyed, and if it weren't for her sensei telling them beforehand to let him handle Zabuza, she would have attacked the freak. Maybe I'll make you watch while I'll kill him slowly and painfully. Yeah, that should work. Haku, grab the girl and keep her alive. We'll force her to watch while we kill the rest of her team, ordered Zabuza. Haku was about to move to capture her, before another voice came from the mist, and it didn't sound happy. Lay one hand on Ino-chan, and I'll kill you both. The tone in the voice made Zabuza almost want to rethink this mission, but pushed that aside. What could a lowly genin do to him? Haku, however, was scared. The voice was laced with killing intent, and it was all directed at him. Just as the two were about to attack, 5 shadows appeared in the mist behind them. Turning to look at the new arrivals, Zabuza's blood ran cold when he recognized who they were. But that's impossible. They're all dead, aren't they? I was there when they were buried. How is this possible? Was what went through Zabuza's mind. Standing in front of them were 5 of the former members of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. The first one, Kushimaru Kuriere, was a tall, thin man. His long shaggy hair swaying in the ocean breeze, his face as always, covered by his umbu mask. He wore a sleeveless black shirt, matching pants with stripped arm and leg warmers. The next member was Amiri Ringo. He was the shortest of the group compared to the others. His long hair going down his back, with his headband tied securely across his forehead. He wore a loose-fitting pin-stripped shirt, and a dark obi wrapped around his waist. He also had on black pants with stripped leg warmers. Jinpachi Munashi had long hair with beads in it, his headband around his forehead, and an eye patch over his left eye hiding a battle scar. His loose pin-stripped shirt covered the upper portion of his black pants, while his pin-stripped leg warmers covered the portion around his ankles. Mangetsu Hozuki wore a dark sleeveless shirt with light pants and pin-stripped leg warmers. He had a container of water on his belt, as well as a holster containing a scroll on the other side. Jinin Akabino had his dark hair up in a small ponytail on his head, while his goatee and nose stood out on his face. He wore a poncho-like cloak over a dark sleeveless shirt with black pants. Like all the swordsmen from their generation, he had pin-stripped arm and leg warmers. No, this can't be happening. I buried you all. How is it you're still alive? Screamed Zabuza as he tried to understand what was going on. When none of them responded, he tried again. Are you even listening to me? Answer me? Mangetsu, what's happening? While this was going on, Team 7 was currently shocked at this turn of events. They had expected Naruto to take one of the bodies and turn it into a puppet, not 5 of them. Well, that explains why he took longer than I thought he would to get back, thought Kakashi as he continued to observe the situation. Damn, when Naruto said help I thought he meant one of the swords, but the swordsmen themselves is a little surprising, thought Kiba as he watched the show with barely contained laughter. He called me Ino-chan. Maybe he really does return my feelings, thought Ino as she tried to sense her blonde crush in the mist. She found him standing behind her, turning around to face him. She received a small peck on the lips from him. When they parted he gave her a true smile. When we get back to the Leaf, I am taking you out wherever you want, he said as Ino resisted the urge to squeal in excitement. Zabuza and Haku heard the blonde's voice and turned to them, ready to fight. Unfortunately, they made the mistake no shinobi should make. They turned their back on their enemy. Taking advantage of their mistake, Naruto twitched his finger and Mangetsu launched forward with his arms turning into water spears thanks to his Kekkai Genkai. Neither Zabuza nor Haku saw it coming. Mangetsu stabbed them both in the heart, and jumped to stand by Team 7 with the other swordsmen following. Well, that only leaves Gato, and Naruto never got to finish as he was interrupted by the sound of clapping. Well, what do we have here? The demon of the mist killed by a little punk, how sad. Oh well, I never planned on paying him anyway, said Gato as he and about 100 thugs showed up at the end of the bridge. Hand over the bridge builder, or die, he said as his thugs got ready to charge. Like hell we'll hand over to Zuna, you midget! Screamed Kiba. It seemed Gato didn't like being called a midget, what with the steam coming out of his ears and all. That's it, kill them, but leave the girl, she could be entertaining, ordered Gato as he ran behind his thugs. They were about to charge when the air was suddenly filled with killing intent. Team 7 turned to look at the source, only to come face to face with a pissed-off Naruto. His chakra started radiating above him, and it took the shape of a fox's head. The thugs were scared, but their stupidity seemed to overcome their fear since they charged towards the group of shinobi. Naruto flicked his wrist and Mangetsu took out the scroll from its holster and opened it, revealing storage seals with the kanji for sever, great, long, blunt, blast, bolt, and twin in the middle of the seals. The seals with sever and great were darkened, meaning there was nothing sealed in them at the moment. The last 5 seals exploded in smoke. Out of the smoke came 5 of the legendary swords used by the 7 swordsmen. Jinin grabbed the one that looked like a single blade axe, with a hammer attached, the blunt sword, helm splitter. Kushimaru had a long, thin-bladed sword with wire attached, the long sword, threading needle. Jinpachi caught one that looked like a giant scroll of paper bombs with a blade on the outside of the scroll, the blast sword, splash. Amiri caught 2 swords. They each had one extension coming from both sides of the blade, the bolt sword, lightning fangs. Lastly, Mangetsu caught one that had 2 handles coming out of the end of a blade that looked like a giant arrowhead, the twin sword. With death in his eyes, Naruto stared at the incoming thugs with all the hate he could muster. Flicking both his hands forward, the swordsman charged at the thugs. Mangetsu was the first to reach them. Swinging his sword, he sliced 5 clean in half. Focusing chakra into the blade, it grew in length, and with another swing killed another group of thugs. Jinin was running through the thugs, chopping and crushing any who got in his way. One thug tried to block his sword with a shield. When the two met, Jinin brought the hammer end of his sword down on the back of the blade, splitting both shield and wielder in 2. Kushimaru was busy bobbing and weaving around the group of thugs, piercing them in random spots and threading them together using the wire attached to his sword. Jinpachi swung his sword at a group of charging bandits. The ones that didn't fall to the blade were killed by the explosion that followed. Moving deeper into their ranks, he caused more and more explosions, killing multiple bandits at once. Amiri was busy using his lightning-infused swords to slice into one enemy after another. No one was safe from his swords, and he took advantage of that fact greatly. While his puppets took care of the thugs, Naruto made his way towards the cowering Gato. This man had threatened to rape Ino, and that was unforgivable. Lifting Zabuza's sword above his head, he brought it down on the businessman's head, cleaving his body in half. With the scum dead and the thugs soon to join them, Team 7 made their way back to Tazuna's for some well-deserved rest, the swordsman following behind at Naruto's control. It was 2 weeks after the battle and Team 7 stood at the end of the completed bridge, with over half of the wave population there to see them off. "Alright team, let's head home," said Kakashi as he started making his way back to the Leaf Village, with his team following. As the figures of Team 7 vanished over the horizon, one villager asked what they were going to name the bridge. "We'll call it the Great Naruto Bridge, in honor of the boy No Man, who saved this village from a tyrant," said Tazuna as he watched the figures disappear. Team 7 was walking along the dirt path that would take them back home to the hidden Leaf Village. They had departed from Wave a few hours ago, and the sun was at its peak, casting a warm glow on our traveling heroes. "Alright team, Once we get back to the village, we'll give our report to the Hokage and see about getting another mission, unless you would rather take a break. It's your choice whether or not we take another mission, said Kakashi, keeping his eyes on the path ahead of them. Behind him, his team looked at each other before nodding in unison. Naruto spoke up for them. How about a compromise, sensei? It's early enough that we could take a break for an hour or so, and then we can take on another mission. Kakashi thought about it for a few seconds before nodding himself. Alright, we'll give our report to the Hokage and see what missions are available before taking a 2-hour break. After that, we'll do whatever mission is available, said Kakashi, before he remembered something that would probably piss his team off. Cursing under his breath, Kakashi decided to get it over with. Either way, I'll end up running for my life once I'm done, thought Kakashi before speaking. Team, I just remembered something that you're not going to like. This caught his team's attention, and each of them suddenly had an urge to crush their sensei. The Chunin exams are being held soon, in a month if I'm not mistaken, and this year they are being held in the Leaf Village. You three are probably the most prepared team as it stands, but you're nowhere near the level I want you at before you take them. Now, what I wanted to tell you was that no matter how skilled a team is, they are not permitted to take part in the exams unless they have completed a minimum requirement of 15 D-rank missions and 5 C-rank missions. This was our first mission and it was a C-rank. You have to complete 4 more of these and, even though you don't want to, you have to complete 15 D-rank missions. Once he finished explaining, he braced himself for the run that would determine whether he lived or died. Team 7 was rooted in place. They knew they were incredibly skilled, but they didn't let that go to their heads. They had long ago decided as a team that unless it was absolutely necessary, there was no way in hell that they would do any of those chores the Hokage called a mission. Now they find out that if they even wanted a chance at moving up in the ranks, they would have to complete 15 of those chores. Team 7 shared the same thought at that second. Why didn't he us this sooner? Kakashi-sensei, you are so dead, and just as Kakashi predicted, he was running for his life the second the information finally sank in. Get back here, Kakashi-sensei. Why the hell didn't you tell us this sooner? Screamed Ino as she and her team continued to chase their sensei through the forest of Fire Country. Kakashi was currently straining to just stay ahead of his students and avoid their ultimate wrath. With anime tears rolling down his face, he tried to placate them some. I'm sorry. It honestly slipped my mind that you had to complete a certain number of missions to take the exams, he said, turning to see how close his team actually was, only for his tears to increase and him to speed up as they seemed to be getting even closer than they had before. Not good enough, sensei. We told you when we were first formed that there was no way in hell we would do those stupid chores, and now you tell us that if we want to take the Chunin exams we have to do them. You are so dead, sensei, screamed Kiba as Akamaru started to try and bite at their sensei's rear after catching up. This only served to scare the Cycloptic Jounin even more and forced him to move even faster. Kakashi-sensei, when I get my hands on you, I swear I am going to use Kami and Shinigami on you for this, screamed Naruto, trying to decide whether to use said brothers now and scare their sensei even more than he already was, or wait and enjoy the chase. He opted for the latter and kept chasing him. Naruto, you wouldn't really do that to your big brother, would you? Screamed Kakashi with fear lacing his voice completely. If Naruto used those two on him, then there wouldn't anything left of him afterward. Minato-sensei, if you can hear me, please stop your son and help me, please. In heaven. Minato was currently laughing his ass off with Hashirama and Tobirama next to him as they watched their only living heir and his team chase one of his old students. Ah, yeah right, Kakashi, why would I stop him? This is some of the best entertainment I've had in a long time, said Minato as he tried to control his laughter and failing miserably, if his now blue face was anything to go by. I agree, why stop this when it's much more entertaining to watch a Jounin get chased by 3 genin? Laughed out Hashirama as cracks started to form along his armor from where he was hitting his chest multiple times in his laughter. Poor Tobirama couldn't even say anything from all the laughing he was doing. It had been so long since he laughed this hard, and it was showing as he was literally rolling around the cloud they were on, and didn't see the edge, and he continued laughing even as he was falling from rolling off the cloud. Back on Earth with Kakashi. Why do I get the feeling I'm being laughed at? Was Kakashi's last thought before he started screaming bloody murder and tried to escape his still pissed off students by ducking through an alleyway. They had reached the village a few minutes ago and had currently put half of the village population in the hospital from the lack of oxygen they got from laughing at the sight of one of the most powerful Jounin in the village running from 3 new genin. This continued for a few more minutes with Kakashi ducking through allies and his team not giving him a moment's rest, until Kakashi turned down an ally only to discover it was dead end. He turned to try and escape only to come face to face with his students, and for a brief moment Kakashi saw his future, and in it was pain, pure pain. He saw Naruto unseal Kami and Shinigami while Ino pulled out 2 kunai and pointed them at his little friend, and Kiba cracked his knuckles with a sadistic smirk on his face. Kakashi's screams of terror and pain could be heard all throughout the village. The Hokage looked at the sight before him and wondered what the hell happened and prayed he didn't make whatever mistake Kakashi did. Before him was Team 7, 8, and 10. Kakashi was currently sprawled out on the ground, his body flinching every now and then, but other than that not moving. Naruto, Ino and Kiba were all half smirking, half scowling. Even Akamaru appeared to be doing the same. The justice they had given their sensei still didn't make up for the fact that they had to do those stupid chores the Hokage called a mission. Asuma and Kurenai were looking at the mangled body that was once their fellow Jounin, and then at Team 7, and shuddering at the aura they were giving off. Teams 8 and 10 were currently trying to get as far away from Team 7 as physically possible due to the aura they were radiating, and it didn't feel friendly. Deciding to try and get some answers, Sarutobi cleared his voice to speak. "Well, I take it you all are here to give your reports for most recent missions, so let's start with Team 8, said the aged Kage, turning to look at the genjutsu using Jounin. Getting out of her fear of Team 7's genin, Kurenai turned to her leader. "Mission to repair the damaged fence for Mr. Chiso, completed Lord Hokage," said Kurenai, trying to make her voice sound normal. Nodding, Sarutobi turned to his son, who already knew what he was going to say. "Mission to help Mrs. Kai with her groceries, completed Dad." Nodding once again, the Hokage turned to the still-down Kakashi. Shaking his head, he turned to Naruto, who stepped forward to speak. "Mission to protect bridge builder Tazuna, completed." However, the mission ranking was incorrect. The originally C-rank mission turned into a B rank upon the appearance of the Demon Brothers, but turned into an A rank when Zabuza Momochi made an appearance and tried to kill the client. Both attempts were stopped and all the attackers were killed, said Naruto, shocking everyone in the room. Sarutobi, Asuma, Kurenai and the other Chunin in the room were shocked that a genin team could not only face Zabuza Momochi, but also kill him. "They're no ordinary genin team," was the shared thought of all the adults in the room. The genin in the room were shocked that 3 of their own had completed an A-rank mission when they had been doing D-ranks ever since they graduated. "I see, thank you Naruto. Team 8, Team 10 you are dismissed. Team 7 stay behind. I would like a full report of what happened during the mission and explanation for why Kakashi is currently barely alive," said the Hokage. Teams 8 and 10 nodded and left, except Sasuke, who had to be dragged out by his sensei. "How could the Dobe and his team have gotten so strong? I am an Uchiha elite. I deserve to have that power more than they do," was the general thought process of the emo as he was dragged away by his sensei. Once everyone had left, the Hokage turned to Team 7 only to find Kakashi standing there like nothing had happened to him. "Okay, I want a full report of everything that happened during the mission, and before you tell me that, what the hell was going on with Kakashi?" "Well, to answer your second question, Lord Hokage, my team had decided that unless it was absolutely necessary they wouldn't do any D-rank missions, and I said I agreed with them. But on our way back from the mission, I remembered that in order to participate in the Chunin exams they had to complete a minimum of 15 D-rank missions, and after I told them they started chasing me the rest of the way to the village and all throughout it once we returned. I managed to avoid being caught for a while until I went down a dead end and they cornered me. What happened next, I can only describe as pure and utter hell on earth. It would make Ibiki's torture methods look like a walk in a field of flowers," said Kakashi, shuddering at the end of his explanation. Sarutobi shuddered as well, having observed his fair share of tortures Ibiki conducted. He made a mental note never to piss off this genin team and another note to have Ibiki talk to them to see about adding whatever they did to Kakashi to the list of torture methods used by the torture and interrogation department. "Very good, now what happened on mission?" asked the aged Kage once again. Team 7 then went into detail about the mission they just completed, leaving nothing out. Once they finished their report, the Hokage was in complete shock. Team 7 was definitely better than they were letting on. They managed to kill the Demon Brothers without the assistance of Kakashi, and now Naruto had 6 of the 7 ninja swordsmen as his puppets, as well as their swords. When Mist gets wind of the fact that they no longer have the swords of the swordsmen, it is going to turn into a shit fest, thought Sarutobi while glancing at his favorite blonde headache. "Thank you Team 7, if that is all you are free to go." "Actually Lord Hokage, we were hoping to get another mission if we could," said Kakashi with his team nodding in agreement. Nodding, Sarutobi looked through the missions list to see what was available. When he saw that all he had available were D ranks, he knew shit was going to hit the fan for him. "All we have at the moment are D rank missions. If you still want one, it will have to be one of those," said Sarutobi, ready to run and hide if need be. "If that's all there is, then that will do. How many do you currently have available?" asked Naruto with a sigh, his teammates mimicking his actions. "Currently we have 10 available," said Sarutobi as he tried to figure out what his surrogate grandson was up to. "Then we'll take them all," said Naruto, surprising everyone in room, except for his team. "Are you sure, Naruto? Even with it still being early out, completing 10 D-rank missions will take quite a while," said the Hokage, even more confused. "We'll be fine, old man, just give us the missions," said Naruto with a slight annoyance in his voice. Fearing he may receive the same punishment Kakashi did, Sarutobi handed them the scrolls with details for the 10 missions and watched them walk out. Relaxing slightly, he sighed knowing Naruto and his teammates were going to make his already gray hair even grayer. Okay team, create some shadow clones and we'll send them to do the other missions, said Kakashi as he formed 10 shadow clones while Kiba and Ino created 7 and 5 respectively. Naruto, do you mind covering the rest of the clones? Yeah, I got it, said Naruto as he created 19 clones, 3 transformed into Kiba while 5 transformed into Ino, creating 10 copies of Team 7. Naruto handed each of Kakashi's clones a scroll and the 10 teams left to complete the mission they were given. Now while the clones handle the chores we can get some training done. Nodding in agreement, the original Team 7 left to their training ground to begin training for the Chunin exams. 2 weeks later. As you all know, the Chunin exams are soon. Now is there anyone who believes their genin are ready for the exams? Asked the Hokage as he sat behind his desk with his crystal ball on the side of it. Before him stood all of the Jounin that were currently training a team of genin, along with a couple of high-ranking Chunin. No one moved for a few seconds, each trying to decide whether their teams were truly ready for this or not. The first one to step forward was none other than Kakashi Hatake himself. I, Kakashi Hatake, nominate Team 7 consisting of Naruto Uzumaki, Ino Yamanaka and Kiba Inuzuka to take the Chunin exams, said Kakashi, surprising everyone present. From what they had heard of that team, they were just barely average in the academy. Kiba had the lowest written grades of their class but had decent physical grades, Ino had the worst physical grades next to Sakura Haruno but had average written grades, and Naruto was just an average all-around student. All of the Jounin present, except for Asuma and Kurenai, shared the same thought. How the heck could they be ready for the exams? Their files suggested they were the worst team formed this year. Following her fellow Jounin's example, Kurenai stepped forward. I, Kurenai Yuhi, nominate teammate consisting of Hinata Hyuga, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akimichi to take the Chunin exams, she said, standing next to her fellow Jounin. She turned to her right just in time to see Asuma walk up to stand on her other side. I, Asuma Sarutobi, nominate Team 10 consisting of Shino Aburame, Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno to take the Chunin exams, said the bearded Jounin. Everyone else was currently in more of a stupor than they were when Kakashi nominated his team. Not only had a rookie team been nominated, all 3 of the rookie teams had been nominated to take the Chunin exams not a year out of the academy. Are sure Team 10 is ready for the exams, Asuma? Asked the aged Kage. From what his son has told him, they didn't really work as a team. Yeah, I think they're ready for the most part, but really the only reason I nominated them was because if I didn't I would have to listen to that banshee of Haruno screech about not letting her daughter or the great Uchiha partake in the exams, and frankly that's a headache I could do without, said Asuma as lit up another smoke. Sympathizing with his youngest, the Hokage nodded before speaking. Very well, Teams 7, 8, and 10 will partake in the upcoming Chunin exams. Are there any others who believe their genin are ready? Asked the Hokage, turning to look at the rest of the assembled Jounin. None of them moved, that is, until a strangely dressed Jounin stepped forward. He had on a hideous green spandex suit with orange leg warmers and an open Jounin vest and a red headband tied around his waist like a belt. He had a bowl-shaped haircut, and his eyebrows wore huge. I might Guy, nominate last year's Team 9 consisting of Rock Lee, Neji Hyuga and Tenten to take the Chunin exams, said Guy before striking his nice guy pose, causing everyone in the room to shudder, except Kakashi, who now had his book in his hand. Kakashi, my rival, my students shall defeat yours in this exam, for their flames of youth burn brighter than the sun. Huh, you say something, Guy? Asked Kakashi in a lazy tone. Aw, cusser you Kakashi, you and your hip ways. Clearing his throat to bring attention back to him, and to hopefully avoid listening to Guy start ranting about the flames of youth, the Hokage spoke again. Now if that is all the nominees, then you are dismissed, said Sarutobi as he stood to leave. Bowing, the assembled Jounin and Chunin left via Shunshin. This year's Chunin exams are going to be very interesting, thought Sarutobi as he made his way to the council chamber to inform them of the Chunin exam nominees. With Team 7 same time. Kakashi-sensei should be at the Chunin nomination meeting right now, said Kiba as he petted Akamaru, who was on his shoulder. Yeah, I know he plans on nominating us for the exams, but I wonder who else will be nominated, said Ino, who currently had her arm looped through Naruto's. True to his word, Naruto had taken Ino out on what she claims to be the most romantic night of her life, and after the date ended they had officially become a couple. I can probably take a guess. Teams 8 and 10 will most likely be nominated. From what we've seen and based on what Kakashi-sensei's told us, Team 8 works very well together, and each of them, though they don't always show it, are very capable in combat. Team 10 under normal circumstances would probably not be nominated. They hardly work together or function as a team, and really the only one on the team who is ready for the exams in Shino. The emo is too arrogant and would most likely get himself killed, and the Banshee is just plain useless, said Naruto as he tried to think of any one other Leaf teams that might be in the exams. I wonder if Gaara, Kankuro, and Temari will be here for the exams. I hope so, it's been so long I last saw them, thought Naruto sadly. He truly missed his first real friends from the Sand Village. Team 7 stopped when they heard shouting from behind them. Turning around revealed it to be a group of 3 kids running from an angry Sakura Haruno. Should we do something? Asked Ino, who was debating whether to laugh at the sight or feel sorry for the kids. I say we let Forehead there do what she wants, and just report her for child abuse, said Kiba, smirking at the thought of causing problems for the annoying Banshee. I'm inclined to agree, Kiba. I say we follow them and enjoy the show, said Naruto as he and his team got out of the way of the scared kids and the pissed off Sakura, who didn't even acknowledge their presence. Running after the group, Team 7 had to stop themselves from doubling over with laughter when Sakura tried to lunge at the kids only to hit dirt. They almost lost it when they saw her go sliding into a couple of garbage cans when she tried to take a corner too fast. Their laughter and enjoyment, however, was cut short when they heard the kids screaming from around the corner. Naruto was about to run and check it out before a voice he hadn't heard in a long time reached his ears. That hurt, you little punk. I think you should learn some manners. No way, was that Kankuro? Thought Naruto before he ran at full speed to the ally the kids had run down, his team on his heels. Rounding the corner, Naruto was frozen in shock. In front of him, holding the kid wearing the helmet off the ground, was none other than Kankuro with his sister Temari next to him. Naruto snapped out of his shock when he saw Kankuro raise a fist to strike the kid. I'd put him down if I were you, Kankuro, said Naruto. Kankuro, who was just about to swing his fist forward, dropped the kid he was holding when he heard the voice of his little brother's first friend. Not believing it truly was him, Kankuro slowly turned to find the owner of the voice and came face to face to a whisker-marked blonde with 2 others standing next to him. No way, Naruto, is that you? He asked in a strangled voice. He couldn't believe it was really him. Temari, who had been about to slap her brother for hitting a kid, was staring at the whisker-marked blonde boy in front of them with complete and utter shock on her face. I can't believe it, Naruto, is that really you? She asked in a hushed voice. It's been a long time, hasn't it, Temari, Kankuro? Said Naruto as he stepped closer to them. Temari finally snapped out of her stupor and tackled the blonde boy in a hug, squealing in happiness. Naruto returned the hug wholeheartedly and spun Temari around once before setting her back on the ground. Naruto, it's so good to see you again. We missed you so much, said Temari, who had just let go of the blonde in front of her. Wow, he's really filled out, those muscles felt rock hard, she thought, trying to fight down the blush that threatened to cross her face. It's good to see you too, Temari. Hey Kankuro, I see you're still wearing that cat outfit of yours, laughed our favorite blonde as he and Kankuro high-fived. Yep, and I don't plan on changing my look anytime soon, said Kankuro to sound of his sister's groaning. Ino and Kiba, who had been surprised that their teammate knew these foreign ninja, finally snapped out of their stupor and walked to stand next to him, while Ino slipped her hand into his to get his attention. Feeling his girlfriend's hand in his, he turned to see her gesturing to Temari and Kankuro with an expectant look in her eyes. Oh, sorry about that, Ino-chan. Temari, Kankuro, allow me to introduce you to my teammates. This is Kiba Inuzuka and his partner Akamaru, said Naruto as Kiba nodded towards 2 of the Sand siblings. And this is my lovely girlfriend Ino Yamanaka, said Naruto, while Ino nodded just like Kiba. Damn, he's off the market. Oh well, thought Temari with a mental shrug. So I take it you're here for the Chunin exams, right? Yep, we were trying to find Gaara after we got separated before that kid ran into me, said Kankuro, who just noticed the kids had run off. Damn, they got away. It is better this way, that was the Hokage's grandson, said Naruto before he started laughing when he saw Kankuro's face pale dramatically. Ahahaha, you should see your face, Kankuro. He managed to laugh out before a new voice caught his attention. What did my idiot of a brother do this time? Asked a voice that Naruto knew all too well. Oh, nothing too bad, just he almost punched the Hokage's grandson. Nothing to get too worked up about, Gaara, said Naruto, turning to look at the tree where the voice came from, and sure enough there was his first true friend. Haha, if you say so, Naruto, said Gaara as he stand shunshin down to them. So are you taking part in the upcoming Chunin exams, my friend? Yes, they are, said Kakashi as he appeared via shunshin, causing everyone present to jump a foot in the air. Damn it, sensei, what have we told you about doing that? Screamed Team 7 as they each threw a kunai at their sensei. Dodging all the projectiles, Kakashi gave them a nice smile. You say not to, but it's just too entertaining to watch your reactions. This got him a death glare from his genin, while the Sand siblings looked on in amusement. Come on, team, we need to get a little more training in before the exams, he said before turning and making his way toward their training ground. Well, I guess I'll see you three in the exams, said Naruto before he turned and left with his team. The Sand siblings nodded in return before making their way to their hotel. 2 weeks later, Academy. Team 7 was walking towards the academy to take the first part of the Chunin exams. When they reached the academy, they started making their way to the 3rd floor where the exam would be taking place. After they made it to 2nd floor, they came across a large crowd of genin standing outside of room 301, where 2 older-looking genin were blocking the door. Are all of them seriously falling for that lame genjutsu? Thought Team 7 together before they started making their way to the real room 301. When they arrived, they were greeted by Kakashi, who was standing outside of the room reading his little orange book. Putting his favorite book away when he felt the spike of killing intent from his female student, Kakashi turned to look at his team and couldn't help but be filled with pride. They had come a long way and they weren't anywhere near their full potential yet. Good luck in their team, and I think it's time to show the world your true colors. You have my permission to go all out during the exams. Now go show them what Team 7 is made of, he said as he stepped aside and let his team pass. The 3 of them stepped forward and opened the doors to the exam room and were met with the sight of hundreds of genin from all over the elemental nation staring at them with all the anger they could muster. Shrugging off the glares, Team 7 was about to walk over and join the Sand siblings when a screeching voice stopped them. So they let you all take the exams too, huh? Guess they're deciding to take pity on you, said Sakura as she and her team walked up them. She hadn't changed much in the time since the academy. She still wore her red dress with black shorts underneath with her headband on her head keeping her hair out of her face. Shino gave a nod to Team 7 which was returned while Sasuke and Sakura glared at them. Like Sakura, Shino hadn't changed his appearance, still wearing his gray high-collared jacket that covered most of his face and sunglasses that hid his eyes with brown shinobi-style pants. Sasuke, like his teammates, hadn't changed either. He still wore his blue high-collared shirt with the Uchiha fan on the back along with white shorts with white arm warmers. Like usual, he had his permanent scowl on his face. Hey Inopig, why are you leaning into the dobe? Asked Sakura when she noticed the position her former friend was in. Why wouldn't I lean into him? He is my boyfriend after all, said Ino, surprising her one-time rival. Ha, so you finally see that I'm the only one for Sasuke-kun, that means he's all mine. Cheered Sakura, causing Naruto, Kiba and Akamaru to drop to the floor holding their ears. So we're all here, huh? What a drag, said Shikamaru as he and his team walked up to the group. Shikamaru didn't change much either. His usual dark gray pants with a mesh shirt and a half-gray vest with green trim. His headband tied around his left arm, and his hair looking like a pineapple. Choji walked in next to his best friend munching on a bag of chips, like usual. He still wore dark gray shorts with his tan shirt, and kanji written on the front with a green jacket and white scarf. His headband looked like underwear on his head, and he still had bandages wrapped around his arms and legs. Hinata, who still wore her tan jacket with white fur around the bottom and dark blue pants, was rooted on the spot. She had walked in with Choji and Shikamaru just in time to hear Ino say that Naruto was her boyfriend and see her lean into him even more. Hinata continued to stare at Ino while picturing the most painful way to kill her and make Naruto hers. That little slut. I make her regret ever crossing me. Naruto-kun belongs to me, screamed Hinata in her head as she accidentally activated her Byakugan. You know you rookies should really keep it down. You're drawing a lot of attention to yourselves, said a silver-haired kid with glasses as he walked up to them. Who the hell are you? Asked Kiba while Akamaru growled slightly from his spot on Kiba's shoulder. Oh sorry, my name is Kabuto Yakushi, I'm what you would call a veteran of these exams, said the now identified Kabuto. Naruto, catching on to the underlying meaning of what Kabuto said, decided to speak up. So in other words, you suck and you've failed these exams a lot. This made Kabuto almost face fault. The only thing keeping him up was his dignity. Yeah, I guess you say it that way, said Kabuto while rubbing the back of his head. Anyway, since you guys are rookies, I'll give you guys a hand. You see, I have information on everyone who's taking part in the exams. Just give me a name, and I'll tell you everything I know about them. Give me everything you have on Gaara of the Desert from Sand, Rock Lee from Leaf, and Naruto Uzumaki from Leaf, said Sasuke with his usual scowl deepening when he mentioned Naruto's name. Everyone else seemed slightly surprised that Sasuke asked for information on Naruto. He and his team may have changed the appearance, but how strong could they have really gotten? Alright, here they are, said Kabuto holding up 3 cards. Show me. It was more of an order than a statement. First we have Gaara of the Desert. His mission history is 25 D-rank missions, 8 C-rank missions and one B-rank mission as a genin, impressive. His teammates are his siblings Temari and Kankuro of the Desert, and his sensei is Baki of the Wind. I don't have much on his skills since he's from another country, but it seems he's returned from every mission without a scratch. Many of the rookie 9 shuddered and made a mental note not to cross this kid. Next is Rock Lee. He's a year older than you guys, but this is his first time taking the exams. His mission history is 28 D-rank missions and 10 C-rank missions. His sensei is Might Guy and his teammates are Niji Hyuga and Tenten. His taijutsu has improved significantly over the past year, but his genjutsu and ninjutsu is non-existent. Sasuke's face darkened at that. I lost to someone who can't even use ninjutsu and genjutsu? And lastly, Naruto Uzumaki. His mission history is 15 D-rank missions, 10 C-rank missions and 1 A-rank. What the hell? Screamed Kabuto when he read the information. Turning to look at Team 7, he saw that all of them were looking at him with either suspicion or distrust. Crap, I need to lay low around them, they're getting too suspicious. His teammates are Ino Yamanaka and Kiba Inuzuka. I don't have much on his skills, but if he and his team completed an A-rank mission then they must be strong, finished Kabuto before he put his cards away and left to return to his team before he caused any more suspicion in Team 7. They're becoming too suspicious, I'll have to send in that team Lord Orochimaru planted in the exams to finish them, he thought as he walked away. We need to be careful around him, he knows too much and most of that information was classified, whispered Naruto so only his team could hear him. If the feeling I have about him is right, then he could be trouble later on. His team nodded in agreement. They had a feeling things were going to get very interesting during these exams. Suddenly the doors at the front of the room were blown open and a deep blood-chilling voice sounded from the dust cloud. Alright you bastards, shut up and pay attention. My name is Ibiki Marino, and I will be your proctor for the first part of the Chunin exams. Out the dust cloud that had formed when the doors at the front were blown open stepped a tall man that was followed by at least 30 Chunin. The man in the front wore a similar outfit to the Chunin behind him, a gray cargo top with lots of pockets, and gray pants that were wrapped in bandages at the ankles. The only difference between his outfit and the many Chunin was his large high-collared black trench coat and the position of his headband, which was tied on like a bandana around his presumably bald head. Ibiki stepped forward and let his gaze sweep over the assembled genin. He gave himself a mental pat on the back when he noticed that almost all of them flinched in fear. Though there were exceptions. He noticed the Sand team didn't even look bothered when he looked at them, and that a Leaf team looked bored out of their minds. Taking a closer look at said team, Ibiki had to hold back a laugh when he recognized the descriptions that Kakashi had given him. So that's the famed Team 7 I've been hearing about. Based on their appearance, it's safe to assume that Kakashi is letting them go all out in the exams. Which reminds me I'll have to talk to them about that supposed new torture method the Hokage told me about. Well, let's see how they do under pressure. Thought Ibiki before he returned to his attention to the reason he was here. Now, as I said before, my name is Ibiki Marino and I will be proctoring the first exam. Now before we begin, each of you will come forward and receive a number. This number will determine where you will be sitting throughout the duration of the written exam. Many of the genin present paled at this, and started running though whatever information they remembered from their academy days. A written exam, are you kidding me? Thought Team 7 as they looked straight at Ibiki as if to say seriously? Noticing the stares from Team 7, Ibiki just nodded slightly with an evil smirk on his face, which served to scare the other genin, while just annoying Team 7 at the same time. It took about 30 minutes, but after everyone had received their number and moved to their respective seats, Ibiki stepped in front of the blackboard with his back to the assembled genin and started writing some things on it before turning to them with his patented death glare. The first exam consists of a 10-question written exam that you will have 1 hour to complete. Now before we begin, there are a few rules that you need to know about. First is that there will be absolutely no fighting without my permission, and if you are allowed then there will be no killing at all. The second rule is that everyone will start out with a full 10 points, and for every incorrect answer you will lose a point. Third is that whether you pass or fail is based on your combined scores with your teammates, and if one of the members of your team gets a 0, your whole team will fail. This caused many of the already shaky genin to want to drop out now. The fourth and last rule is that anyone caught cheating by the sentinels will lose 2 points for every time they're caught, which means if you're caught 5 times you and your team will be failed immediately. Also, the 10th question will not be given until there are 15 minutes left in the exam. Not bad, Ibiki, you live up to your reputation as the mind sadist. With the rules he set up almost everyone present for a mental breakdown, giving them hope by started them out with a full score and then adding pressure to keep it with the point reduction. Add on more pressure with the combined score of our teams determining whether we pass or fail, and most of the genin here are ready to quit and resort to anything to pass. Then you add the 2-point reduction for cheating and you have almost everybody mentally breaking down before the exam even begins. And knowing his reputation, the questions on this exam are probably so hard only the Banshee, Shikamaru and I will be able to answer anything on our own. Thought Naruto as he looked around for where the other rookies were sitting. Ino was towards the middle near the edge with the sentinels, Kiba was towards the back with Akamaru on his shoulder still. The Imo was on the opposite side of Ino's row near the other set of sentinels, the Banshee was a few rows in front of Ino, and Shino was a few rows behind Sasuke. Hinata was sitting next to him with Shikamaru and Choji towards the very center. "You have 1 hour to complete the test, begin," said Ibiki, who was smirking at how the genin scrambled to turn over their test and get it over with. Like Naruto predicted, the questions were well beyond any genin. Something still doesn't feel right. Even if he wants us to sweat and panic, he can't give an impossible test that no one can pass. What am I missing? Thought Naruto while he ran through everything Ibiki had said before realization dawned on him. He wants us to cheat. This isn't about the written test at all, he's testing how well we can gather information in a hostile and pressuring environment. Naruto smirked slightly before activating his Byakugan and scanning the room for anyone who had the answers he needed. After a few minutes he found a Leaf genin who was answering the questions like it was nothing. He started copying his answers while letting a smirk cross his face when he saw how the others were doing. Ino was using one of her family's more advanced jutsus that actually connected the user's mind to the victims and allowed the user to use their victim's knowledge as their own. Akamaru was looking around and telling Kiba the answers from the people around him. Sasuke, Hinata and Niji had activated their Kekkai Genkais, judging from the chakra in their eyes. Shikamaru was using his own natural intellect to answer the questions while using his clan's shadow jutsu to make Choji mimic his movements while he answered the questions. He noticed Gaara was using his sand abilities to create an eye that was linked to his optic nerves to get answers, while Temari was doing what Shikamaru was doing and answering on her own. Kankuro had left with a sentinel a few minutes ago that didn't have a chakra signature. It was safe to assume the sentinel was his puppet in disguise. 45 minutes into the allotted hour time frame, over half of the genin who had entered the exams had been eliminated. Roughly just over 100 genin were left. Clearing his throat to get the remaining genin's attention, Ibiki let his dangerous smirk cross his face before he played his final card to reduce the number of genin that might pass. "Listen up, bastards, it's time for the 10th question, so listen up." By now every genin was watching him carefully, and a large number of them in fear. Now before we begin, there are a few more rules that are unique to the 10th question. First, you can choose whether or not to take the question, and should you choose to accept the question and get it wrong, then you will be barred from taking the Chunin exams ever again. The room seemed to freeze with this revelation. You could probably hear a pin drop from a mile away, the room was so quiet. Now those of you who wish to stop now and take the exams next year, just raise your hands. Your number will be recorded and you and your team will be allowed to leave. Nobody moved for a few minutes before someone finally cracked and dropped out. This seemed to release the floodgates, as one by one the participants dropped out. After about 5 minutes of people dropping out, no one was raising their hands and the remaining genin all had stony determination on their faces. Looks like no one else is dropping out. 51 left, about what I expected but still surprising. To those of you remaining, there is only one thing left to do, and that is to tell you that you all have successfully passed the first part of the Chunin exams. Ibiki smiled a true smile that seemed out of place on his scarred face, and made many of the genin shiver at the creepy sight. Ibiki looked like he was about to say something else, but before he could, a black ball smashed through the window and unfurled, revealing a banner saying the super sexy proctor of the second exam, Anko Mitarashi. From the same window jumped a purple-haired kunoichi who was wearing a very revealing outfit, a mesh shirt with a short orange skirt with a tan trench coat, barely leaving anything to the imagination. "Alright, you maggots, don't think that just because you pass one measly little test means you're in the clear. You have 20 minutes to get to training ground 44 before the second exam starts. If you don't make it, you failed then and there. Move!" screamed the now-known Anko. Not willing to risk failing, or pissing off the scary kunoichi, the room emptied the second she finished talking. "Well, I'll see you later, Ibiki. Right now I've got some genin to mess with." With that she shunshined away with a sadistic smile on her face. 20 minutes later, training ground 44. Anko stood just outside of training ground 44, aka the Forest of Death. She was showing a smirk that put Ibiki's to shame, but combined with the aura she was giving off, all of the assembled genin were scared out of their minds, well, almost all. "So this is the famed Forest of Death. Looks like fun," said Naruto so only his team could hear him. Ino, who was leaning into her boyfriend's chest, shook her head at his statement. Only her Naruto would say a giant forest obviously filled with deadly plants, animals, and who knows what else would say it looked like fun. Kiba, who was chuckling next to his teammates with Akamaru by his side, couldn't help but comment on that. "If it looks so fun, why don't you take Ino out on a date here after this is over?" He expected Naruto to laugh, or at the very least chuckle. Instead, he actually looked like he was seriously considering the option. "Not a bad idea, Kiba. I'll have to keep that in mind," said our favorite blonde, only to receive an elbow in the ribs from the blonde in his arms. "Naruto Uzumaki, if you even think of bringing me here for a date, there will be no kissing between us for a month." Naruto got a panicked expression on his face when he heard this and immediately said he wouldn't bring her here. Anko decided at that moment to start the second exam. Letting her smirk get a little more menacing, she turned to face the assembled genin. "Alright, you maggots, let's get started. Behind me is Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Sakura, who was standing towards the front of the group of genin, started shivering and mumbled something under her breath that only those near her and Naruto heard. It seems forehead is already shaken just from standing here, she won't last long in there, whispered Naruto to his team, who chuckled slightly but nodded in agreement. Yeah, the scary Forest of Death, please, it looks more like a playground to me, said Kiba, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Ino would have doubled over laughing if it weren't for Naruto's arms around her. Said Blonde was chuckling in a very evil and demonic manner that was scaring the hell out of everyone nearby. Enko heard the comment and the reaction of Team 7, and needless to say she was not happy. The killing intent she was letting off was causing many of the genin near her to lose control of their bulls, or pass out from it, or both. She launched 3 kunai at the still laughing Team 7 and Shunshin behind them to have a little fun. What she wasn't counting on though was Team 7 to turn her little plan against her. Ino moved behind her and wrapped her right leg around Enko's right while holding a kunai to her spine. Kiba was beside her with his right arm around her left leg holding a kunai to her stomach with Akamaru on his back ready to attack. Naruto had unsealed Shinigami, who had his right hand separate from his boy and tie up her torso and arms so they were behind her, he also his tanto pressed against her throat. Naruto was standing in front in the now trapped special jounin with the 3 kunai she threw at them in between his fingers with the tips dangerously close to her eyes. That wasn't a very wise decision, Proctor. Had my team and I wanted to, you would be dead right now. We'll allow this one mishap to go by, but should you try a stunt like that again it will not end well for you. As he finished, Shinigami disappeared in a cloud of smoke while Ino and Kiba jumped away from the now twitching Proctor. Enko Shunshin back to the front of the assembled genin to continue with the explanation of the exam. What she didn't notice though was both Ino and Kiba slipping a white and brown scroll respectively into their tool pouches. Your objective during this exam is to make it to the tower in the center of the forest within a 5-day time limit. However, you will only be allowed to enter the tower once you have both a heaven scroll and an earth scroll. Enko reached into her pockets where the scrolls were only to discover them missing. Sending a quick glare at Team 7, she took both scrolls from one of the chunin standing behind her and held them up for everyone to see. Each team would be given either an earth scroll or a heaven scroll before the exam begins. Now, before I forget, each of you will have to sign these waiver forms stating that the Leaf Village and more importantly me, are not responsible should you get injured or die while you're taking this exam. Once the forms were passed out, everyone seemed to realize just what they were getting into since most seemed to hesitate in signing the forms. Team 7 signed their forms and went to get their scroll from the booth off to the side, followed shortly by the Sand siblings. They got another earth scroll, while Naruto discreetly put a genjutsu on everyone present to make it seem like Team 7 had walked away to find a gate to start at. The Sand siblings exited the booth and noticed the real Team 7 standing there waiting for them. Motioning for them to follow, Naruto led the small group away from the rest of the genin, releasing the genjutsu once they were out of sight. What scroll did you guys get? Asked Naruto once they had reached 2 gates that were the farthest away from the still assembled crowd of genin. We got a heaven scroll. Which one did you guys get? Asked Temari as she pulled out the scroll they were given. Naruto didn't answer. Instead, he took out the second earth scroll his team got and handed it to Gaara. Once he handed the scroll to his sister, Gaara turned to face his first friend with a look of understanding. Let me guess, you all took the scrolls from the proctor when you had her trapped, didn't you? He asked with a small smirk. Returning the smirk, Ino and Kiba pulled the scrolls they had taken from Enko earlier out of their pouches. Very impressive. I look forward to seeing how much you've improved, my friend. He put his hand out in front of him, which Naruto took in his own, and the 2 friends made a silent agreement to show the other what they were really capable of. 10 minutes later, Enko's voice was heard over the intercom. Alright, you maggots, the second part of the Chunin exams begins now. No one hesitated. Once the gates were open, they all dived headfirst into the forest, determined to win. With Team 7. Team 7 stood on a branch high above the ground, planning their next move. They had split up from the Sand siblings not long after they had entered the forest. Gaara said they would head for the tower, but not without having a little fun first. So Naruto, what's the plan? Are we going to the tower or are we going after the other teams? Asked Kiba, who was petting Akamaru while keeping his enhanced senses alert for any possible threats. Neither. Remember the lesson that Ibiki's test taught us. Knowledge is power, and those that can acquire it the best will succeed in the end. We'll create some shadow clones and send them off to spy on some of the other teams, while we spy on teams 8 and 10. Between mine and Kiba's senses and my Byakugan, we should be able to find anyone we want, said Naruto, getting nods of agreement from his team. Before he could say anything else though, he was interrupted by his blonde girlfriend. Naruto-kun, you told us you have the Byakugan and Sharingan, but you never really told us how you got them. Since Kakashi-sensei's given us permission to go all out, it's safe to assume that you will be using them a lot more. Since we have a few minutes, could you please tell us exactly how you got them? Kiba seemed to agree since he was looking at the leader of Team 7 in Kakashi's absence. Sighing, Naruto knew his teammates wouldn't drop the subject until he answered them, so he prepared himself to tell them everything. Alright Ino-chan, you're right. This could take a while, so get comfy, but stay alert. I'll start with my Byakugan and Sharingan. Before we started the academy, I snuck into the Hokage's office and figured out who all was in our class. After I did, I sent shadow clones out to observe everyone, even you two, for a day. When they dispelled, I learned a lot about everyone, but the last clone to dispel had a warning with it. That clone had followed Hinata and was spotted by her Hyuga guard, who told a passing by Uchiha, and they agreed to come and attack me. I managed to kill them, and with the help of Kurama I was able to transplant the specific strand of DNA that contained their Keki Eigenkais into me. At this point he unsealed his Uchiha and Hyuga puppets so his teammates could see them. That's how I got my 2 dojutsu, but I have 2 more Keki Eigenkais that are mine by birth. The first one was the famed wood style of the first Hokage, and the second was the water style abilities of the second. The first was my great-great-great-grandfather, while the second was my great-great-great-granduncle. I have almost mastered the wood style and have completely mastered the water control of my granduncle. Without these abilities I am about Jounin level, but with them I am even stronger than Old Man Hokage right now. Ino and Kiba were silent. They always knew their teammate was powerful, but never had they imagined that he was that powerful. His relation to the first and second Hokage was a big enough shock, but learning that he could use the famed and feared wood style of the first and had the water control of the second made both their brains shut down and reboot. Ino was the first to get out of her funk before she spoke to her boyfriend. Naruto-kun, I can understand why you didn't tell us before. But I am seriously glad you did before you were forced to use those abilities in front of us. If that had happened, I would have thought I was under a genjutsu. Kiba was still having trouble getting his jaw back in place, but he nodded in agreement with Ino's statement. Alright, enough about my past, let's get moving. This seemed to pull them both the rest of the way out of their stupor, and they nodded before they each made 10 shadow clones and sent them to track the other teams. We'll start with Team 8, let's go. Naruto was correct. Between his and Kiba's sense of smell combined with Naruto's Byakugan, they were able to find Team 8 without much trouble and also managed to avoid being detected by Hinata's own Byakugan. They were currently crouching in the shadows of a tree branch near a clearing where Team 8 was currently engaged with another Leaf team. From what they could tell, Shikamaru was the obvious brains behind the team. With his intellect it was hard not to. Choji was muscle of the team. His clan's expansion jutsu helped in that regard. Hinata was the obvious support, and if she could get over her shyness, the assassin of the team, hanging back telling Shikamaru what was going on around them and moving in close to finish the enemy if needed. Naruto had his Sharingan activated and was committing everything about them and their fighting styles to memory. Shikamaru liked to hang back and outsmart his opponents with his strategies. Choji was a direct fighter, using strategy only when needed but relying mostly on his strength and clan jutsu in a fight. Hinata, it seemed, was too gentle for her own good. She preferred to try and disarm or neutralize an opponent instead of outright killing them. I don't even want to think of what would happen if she was ever truly in a life and death situation. Her thing for mercy would get her killed, thought Naruto before he signaled to his team that they were heading out to find their last target, Team 10. They found said team in much the same fashion they had Team 8, the only difference being they weren't nearly as effective as a team together, and they were facing the lone team from Sound. Sakura was hanging back throwing a kunai every now and then when an opening presented itself. Sasuke was fighting against a kid with black spiky hair that apparently had holes in his arms, while Shino was facing the other male who looked like a mummy. With Team 10 and Sound Team. These guys are pathetic dosu, why don't we just kill them and go after that other Leaf team? That blonde brat looked like he might actually pose a challenge, said Zaku as he dodged another punch from Sasuke. Looks like we might have a fight on our hands, was the shared thought of Team 7 as they observed the fight from a tree. For once Zaku's right, we should just end this and go after that other team, said Kin as she blocked another of the kunai Sakura threw at her. You're right, let's kill these 3 and find that blonde and his team, said Dosu while he pulled his right sleeve up and revealed his melody arm. He swung a punch at Shino, who just barely got out of the way. His attempts were all in vain, however, as he dropped to the ground unconscious with his ears bleeding. Finish them off and let's go. Zaku smirked before he blasted Sasuke into a tree and threw kunai intent on finishing the stuck-up emo. Kin followed her teammate's example and let loose a hail of saban towards Sakura, while the poor girl just stood there frozen out of fear. The Sound team all turned to leave when they saw their attacks hit their marks, only to whirl around when they heard the small poof that signaled a substitution. Sasuke was no longer pinned to a tree with multiple kunai in his body. In his place was a log that fell to the ground. Sakura was also replaced with a log that looked like it had been turned into a pincushion. There was no log or other object in the place Shino had fallen. His body had just disappeared seemingly without a trace. What Sokka didn't get a chance to finish as he suddenly stopped moving with a glazed look in his eyes. Dosa looked at his teammate in confusion that quickly turned to fear when he saw Sokka draw two kunai and stab himself in both of his shoulders. He made no outward sign that he felt the pain of the injuries until his eyes seemed to clear and he dropped to the ground screaming in agony with a quickly growing pool of blood surrounding him. Dosa's attention was torn from the sight of his teammate writhing on the ground by the sounding of his other teammate's blood-curdling scream. He turned just in time to get sprayed with a shower of blood and guts that had once belonged to Kin before she was literally shredded to pieces by what looked like two tornadoes. In a panic, Dosa tried to make a run for it only end up face first into the ground with multiple samban in his legs. He twisted his head to try and find his attackers only to come face to face with the very team they were ordered to eliminate. None looked even the slightest bit winded, yet they had managed to quickly kill both of his teammates, if Sokka's sudden silence was any indication, and effectively cripple him for life. I believe you and your teammates were looking for us. Well, here we are. What exactly is it you wanted with us? Asked Naruto, who was twirling a kunai around looking bored. Dosa was about to refute until he thought back to his current predicament. Bowing his head in shame, he started talking. My team and I were sent to this village under the pretense of partaking in these exams. However, our true purpose here was to eliminate any potentially strong Leaf Genin, and to test the last Uchiha. We thought we were going to have it easy with this mission until you three showed up and killed my teammates. He spat the last part with as much hatred as he could directed at the blonde before him. Naruto had a look of concentration on his face. He could tell by the tone in his prisoner's voice and his body language that he wasn't lying. However, he was missing one crucial piece of information. Who had given them this mission? Ino-chan, he's withholding information. Would you be kind of enough to rip it from his mind? Asked Naruto as he turned to look at his girlfriend, a twisted smirk on his face. Not the least bit fazed by the smirk her boyfriend had, and allowing a similar one to grace her lips, Ino walked over to their prisoner, and while performing a few hand signs. It would be my pleasure, sweetie. Mind assimilation jutsu, said Ino once she finished her hand signs. Her right hand erupted with blue chakra before she placed her hand on Dosa's head, and let it sink into his brain. Naruto noticed that while Ino was doing this, Dosa's eye rolled into the back of his head and his body well limp with his death. No one can survive having their mind exposed to an outside chakra source. Ino had told him the Yamanaka clan possessed jutsu that allowed them to retrieve any and all information from a victim's mind, even if the target was already dead. Ino kept her hand inside the sound genin's head for a few more seconds before pulling it out, and watching as the body fell to the ground lifeless. What did you find, Ino? Asked Kiba from his spot kneeling next to Naruto while petting Akamaru. You were right, Naruto-kun, he was withholding quite a bit of information. It seems that the traitorous snake Orochimaru has created his own village, the Sound Village, somewhere in Rice Country. It seems he is also planning an invasion of the village during the finals of the Chunin exams. He has two main goals with the invasion. The first and main goal is to destroy the Leaf Village and kill anyone who opposes his will. His second goal is to kill his former sensei, the third Hokage. When she finished, she turned to Naruto with a look of concern when she felt his spike and killing intent. Her boyfriend didn't have many people that truly cared for him, but those that did he treated like family. The third was the first to acknowledge him, and therefore the one he was closest to. Anyone threatening the third would soon realize it was suicide, as they would first have to deal with a very angry Naruto. If that bastard tries to anything, I'll make sure I have his head on a platter. We're heading for the tower now. We need to inform the old man of this turn of events. But first, how about we humiliate Team 10 a little bit? Ino-chan, would you be able to put some fake memories into their heads? Ino's twisted smirk in his direction answered his question clearly. What would you like them to see? Asked Ino as she approached the still-down Team 10, forming more hand signs. Her boyfriend's response of "be creative" had her smirk becoming even more twisted, and had Kiba chuckling darkly while Akamaru barked his agreement. How about us rescuing their sorry asses and killing the Sound team and leaving the scroll sitting in front of them just to spite them? Her idea was answered by the combined dark laughter of her teammates, who couldn't wait for their next meeting with Team 10. Shifting memory jutsu. Once again, Ino's hands erupted with blue chakra as she placed her hands on top of Team 10's members one at a time. It took her a few minutes to finish, but once she was, Team 7 left the area after placing the Sound team's scroll in front of Team 10 before leaving towards the tower. Hey Gaara, remind me again why the hell we're not just heading to the tower? Asked Kankuro as he and Temari followed their little brother deeper into the forest. He didn't understand Gaara's logic in wanting to find someone to fight. They had both scrolls. The proctor never said they had to get one in a fight or fight at all. Just get both scrolls and make it to the tower within 5 days. Because Kankuro, Naruto, and I promised to show each other how much we've improved. I can't exactly show him my full strength without a little warm-up now, can I? Was the redhead's only reply. Temari smirked slightly at this, Only Gaara would go looking for a fight and claim it was a warm-up for a bigger fight later on. On second thought, Naruto probably would as well. While his sister smirked, Kankuro shivered slightly. The power his brother and Naruto both wielded scared the crap out of him at times. Add to that his brother claiming a fight to the death was a warm-up and he was pretty freaked. They continue on moving through the trees until they felt a sudden spike of killing intent from somewhere. Stopping on a branch, Gaara had a look of understanding on his face while his siblings seemed confused. Kankuro, being the loud mouth of the Sand siblings, broke the silence. "What was that, Gaara? You recognize something?" The sand-wielding shinobi nodded slightly before turning to face his siblings. "Yes, I did, Kankuro. That killing intent belonged to Naruto. It would appear that our friend is a little angry at something, and judging from the increasing pressure on us, I'd say he's heading in this direction," Gaara said before preparing to continue moving when he noticed 3 chakra signatures below them. "We have company. How about we greet them properly?" With that, Gaara launched a wave of sand towards the team below them. With Kabuto's team same time. "Kabuto, are you sure those 3 idiots can handle the task you gave them?" asked Yoroi Akado. He wore an outfit exactly like Kabuto's except with the addition of a purple mask that covered most of his face along with a pair of sunglasses. "I have to agree with Yoroi on this one. Those 3 idiots can handle the simplest of missions. We should find them and show them how to do it properly," said Misumi Tsurugi. Like his teammates, he wore the same purple outfit and had a face mask similar to Yoroi's, only he had regular glasses like Kabuto. Turning to his teammates, Kabuto let the annoyance he felt about the 2 of them question his judgment on such a simple matter show on his face. When his partners didn't seem to notice his annoyance, he spiked his killing intent slightly. This had the desired effect of shutting them both up, catching their attention at the same time. "Don't forget who you're talking to, Yoroi, Misumi. I'm Lord Orochimaru's right hand for a reason, so unless you want to meet a quick and painful end or better yet be turned into one of my test subjects, I suggest you shut up." Yoroi and Misumi paled considerably at this. It was common knowledge that Orochimaru liked using people with rare abilities such as Kekkei Genkais for his experiments. What wasn't so common, however, was that Orochimaru let Kabuto manage most of the experiments, while he focused on furthering his plans and only participated in an experiment when it truly piqued his interest. The 2 of them each had a unique ability, so it wouldn't be hard for Kabuto to convince their lord to let him use them for some of his experiments. The 2 were brought out of their thoughts when they sensed movement above them. A quick glance revealed that it was a wave of sand heading straight for them. They managed to avoid the wave of sand just before it could strike them. "Shit, there's only one person in this exam that can control sand, and that's the one-tailed Jinchuriki. I was hoping to wait until the finals and kidnap him then, but it seems my plans might have to be moved up," thought Kabuto as he and his team tried to find the source of the attack. Who started Yoroi, only to be interrupted by hundreds of Saban flying towards them. Jumping onto a nearby branch, Yoroi tried to find their attackers only to receive hundreds of cuts when a strong gale of wind hit him from behind. "Damn it, where the hell are they?" he screamed in frustration after dodging another blast of wind. "I'll let those 2 handle the sand team while I check on those 3 morons to make sure they've completed their mission," thought Kabuto as he continued jumping towards the sound team's last reported position. With Team 7. "Hey guys, someone's heading in our direction," said Kiba as he and his team continued to make their way towards the tower. "Should we take care of them, or keep moving?" "We'll keep MOV," said Naruto before the scent hit his nose as well. "This scent, it's the same as that Kabuto guy from the first exam. He smells far too much of snakes for it to coincidence. He must be working with Orochimaru," thought Naruto, stopping on a branch facing the way Kabuto's scent was coming from. He continued in a voice that was dripping with venom and just barely contained rage. "It's that Kabuto guy from the first exam. He knew too much classified information, and he smells strongly of snakes. There's no way that it's coincidence. He must be working with Orochimaru." "So what should we do about him? Eliminate a threat or capture him for interrogation?" asked Ino while facing the same direction her boyfriend was. If she were honest with herself, she was somewhat scared of Naruto at the minute. He was barely containing his rage with the thoughts of Orochimaru trying to kill the 3rd in his head. If anything happened that caused him get any angrier than he already was, then there was no telling what he would do. "Both," said Naruto, earning him some confused looks from his team. "Ino-chan, Kiba and I will keep him busy while you prepare to use your mind link jutsu. Once you've made the connection, copy every little detail you can get out of him. After you have what we need, we'll leave him alone and continue to the tower to make our report. Kiba, go all out against him. If he's working with Orochimaru, then he is a lot stronger than he's letting on. He'll be here in about 10 seconds, get ready you two." True to Naruto's prediction, Kabuto jumped into the open field below them not 10 seconds after they finished planning. Kiba and Akamaru jumped down to meet him, with Naruto unsealing his Uchiha and Hyuga puppets to fight with Kiba while he guarded Ino. With Kabuto. Those idiots should be around here somewhere, thought Kabuto as he landed in the middle of clearing. I guess Yoroi and Misumi might have been right for once. Those three couldn't even handle a simple search and destroy mission. Oh well, better head back and check on my two useless teammates. He finished out loud, before he turned to head back towards the way he came.